Welcome, everyone, to episode 5 of Retroactivity, a roundtable retrospective on different series of games. Today we're going to be discussing the wonderful world of Kingdom Hearts. And yes, I know Kingdom Hearts is a very complicated subject, but
that long pause.
Oh yeah. But we will get to that. First, I want to welcome yet again Ben McCleary to the podcast. Hi, Ben.
Hi.
How you doing
it's your
today?
weekly space filler. Here when you've run out of people.
I got you, boo.
Jack of all games, master of none.
Well, definitely not the master of anything I know of. And joining Ben and myself today, we have FireLordBrooke. Hello, Brooke.
Hello, everyone. It's me. I don't know what's going on.
It's okay. That's the theme of today's podcast.
Hey, I can't wait.
And you know what the best part is? I did about 10 minutes of research ahead of time.
Jacob.
Ben did probably about an hour of research ahead of time.
Let me show you guys.
An hour today, but Brooke has outdone herself.
Look at this. Hold on. Let me get my fucking book. Hold on. All right. Look at this shit. I am researched. I got this. This is only the first 2 games.
And you know what the best part of that is? None of the
What?
people that are gonna listen to this on podcast websites are gonna see that. So the
No.
biggest impossible middle finger to them, right?
You guys look at this thing.
For our audio listeners, just imagine a mixture of the text, all the text in the Bible, and a mural spread across a wall in a church, but it's all Kingdom Hearts and it's in Brooke's handwriting.
Yep. That's
I have
pretty
That's
fair.
what that was.
I have written the Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, she is. You know what? You could write it better than the actual writers could. And
Honestly, I would
have full
simplify it. Yeah,
confidence in that.
it'll be in Brooke language. Everything will just be simple.
Hearts, darkness, hearts, light heart. Heart, light, dark heart.
This is evil, bald, evil dude. Leave him alone. Don't listen to him.
So there's Xehanort, and there's young Xehanort, and
Yeah.
there's Terranort, and there's Zigbar, who's kind of
Oh,
Xehanort,
yeah.
but not Xehanort, and there's
Mhm.
and then there's
Breathe, Ben. We'll get there. You have to pace
We'll get there.
yourself, or you're going to explode. Woo!
like honestly, the entire series could be summed up by Disney, also Final Fantasy, and Xehanort.
And friendship. And
Yeah,
darkness.
friendship and light and
Darkness.
hearts.
Gotta memorize, chat. I can do it too.
Oh, I have so many regrets right now. Oh,
This was great.
why
This
did
is
we
already
put
being
Kingdom
great.
Hearts as the
Right.
5th episode? What was I thinking?
What were you thinking? You did an episode on Dark Souls.
Yeah, okay, look, Dark Souls was a self-contained nightmare, okay? It wasn't even supposed to be that complicated, but then things got out of hand, okay? It was not my fault.
Hard X'd out on that one, my friend.
Okay, look. We'll talk about this later, Ben.
We need to focus. Focus on the.
Right, we're gonna focus
Kingdom
on Kingdom
Hearts.
Hearts. And speaking of focusing, there's something I'd like to start out with, and it's what I always like to start out with these podcasts, which is, oddly enough, which game in the series is our favorite?
Earth by Sleep.
So we'll start with you, Brooke, with no
Yeah.
context, no extra detail, because we'll get there. Birth by Sleep, huh?
Birth by Sleep is really good. So no context, no story or anything. Just
Not yet. We'll get there.
Okay.
Just-
I just really like Aqua, honestly. She's one of the most relatable characters, I feel. And I feel like the gameplay is just really good.
And
So yes. Yeah.
Aqua
Kingdom Hearts
is
mine.
Kingdom Heart waifu. Yep. So Ben, what about you?
Good.
It's clearly going to be Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue Remix.
Oh, obviously.
Featuring
Kingdom Hearts 2.
0.2 Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage.
Yeah, I know. No, Kingdom Hearts 2. I love Kingdom Hearts 2. That's probably my favorite.
That's a good one. I gotta say Birth by Sleep, honestly.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, there's something about it, and I'm thinking maybe when we get there and we
It's
start to
Aqua.
dissect it, yeah, it's probably Aqua. But I'm thinking when we get there and we finally get around to dissecting it, it might be a little more,
Yeah.
obvious as to why we end up liking it more than the other ones. But yeah, so Kingdom Hearts is quite a mess. I'm sure most of you know, even if you haven't played the games yourself, most of you know that Kingdom Hearts is notorious for having a very convoluted plot. And if we wanted to talk about the plot, we would be here until next week.
Yeah.
So,
Seriously, though.
yeah, it's so ridiculously complex for no good reason either. But
No.
we'll get to that.
Yeah, I know.
Because it's... oof.
Well, I have a theory about that, but we'll get to that.
So the thing about Kingdom Hearts is, of course, the plot is one of the major things to it, and it's so well known at this point for being so convoluted. It's almost a selling point for the series that it's convoluted. But the plot, while we're definitely going to discuss plot points, the plot isn't what I want to focus on. It's the games themselves and how they are as an interactive media rather than just a story to be told.
Yeah.
So with that said, we're going to start not with the first one in the timeline, but the first game that was released, and that's Kingdom Hearts 1.
Kingdom Hearts
Yeah.
1.
Yeah, and that's just that you think that, oh, the first game is the first one? That's cool. That is, I promise you, that's as simple as it gets. It's only downhill from here, because Kingdom Hearts 2 is not the second game. Don't worry, we'll get there.
Not only that, but not only is Kingdom Hearts the first game, and that's as simple as it gets, but Kingdom Hearts 1 is already complicated and makes no sense. So, we're off to a good start.
Yeah. So to start with Kingdom Hearts 1, before we dive into the plot and the characters and the worlds and all that stuff, I want to talk about Kingdom Hearts 1 as a proof of concept, because Kingdom Hearts at its core is very weird. It's a Squeenix game,
Yeah.
but with Disney.
Yeah.
Already, that just sounds weird. I mean, how do you put Tarzan in a Final Fantasy game? You don't. But they did it anyway, and somehow we have Kingdom Hearts with a bazillion games making $1 bazillion, and it had to start somewhere, and that somewhere is Kingdom Hearts 1. So as a proof of concept, as a declaration that, hey, somehow this amalgamation is going to work, what do you guys think? Do you think that Kingdom Hearts 1 did a good job setting up an interesting way to blend together these beloved Disney characters with a JRPG series, or do you think that it would take until later games to really hit that stride?
So, I think that Kingdom Hearts 1 was a very, very good, in fact, was probably the perfect proof of concept for what the series would be. I don't think it's the best iteration of said concept. I think that would fall in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
I think in terms of setting up what, at least gameplay and structurally, the game would be, and the idea of, hey, you're this weird, goofy Final Fantasy character, kind of, but you also have Disney worlds that you explore. That kind of idea of how the game is structured, Kingdom Hearts 1 sets it up perfectly. Why they decided to do it, I don't know. I don't know who sat in the board meeting and was like, so how Final Fantasy is doing really well? What if we put it with Disney? The two series that you just think they go together like fucking milk and cookies, I guess.
I seem to remember there being a story about the concept being pitched in an elevator.
What? Really?
Something
Really?
like that.
Like a
I don't know if
literal
it's
elevator
true,
pitch?
but one of the dudes wanted to pitch it and caught one of the higher ups in an elevator and pitched it to him in an elevator, and that's what made the series happen. And I'm
Wow.
getting several confirmations in chat, so it would appear that that's true.
It's true. Wow, that's
That's-
crazy. I mean, it's
that's
such a
insane.
out there idea, so I guess I would believe that.
Yeah. So insane from the very beginning. Cool. Good to know.
You know what I like?
Hmm.
I like how I was just looking it up and I was looking at it, and it says the initial idea, and this did not come from where I thought it was going to come from, but it says, hey, the initial idea for Kingdom Hearts began when Shinji Hashimoto and Hironobu Sakuichi were talking about Super Mario 64.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
How do you go from Super Mario 64 to Final Fantasy with Disney? It's perfect.
It's like Nintendo probably won't say yes, but Walt Disney
No,
probably will be
It looks
fine
like
with it.
the idea was they were trying to get a 3D movement game.
Mm.
And they lamented the only character as popular as Disney could rival a Mario game. Wait a minute. What if we just did that?
And then they did, apparently.
And then
They
they
did.
did. And then they made Jacob very mad by calling.
Don't you dare! You
I
whore!
was waiting for it. I was waiting for it.
It's relevant. It's relevant. I'm allowed to talk about it.
Go ahead, say
Because
it.
that's a very important thing about what we're going to be talking about, because it's about melding the idea of having this JRPG Kingdom Hearts world be a mixture of Final Fantasy and Disney, and that's one of the important parts about it. The weird, funky changes that they made to Final Fantasy content to shove it in into this world, which Leon / Squall is one of those things. And in fact, he's one of the first Final Fantasy characters you meet.
Yep.
If not, no, I think he's the first, because
Yep.
when you first get to Traverse Town, that's where the fight happens.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And do you know why they picked Squall for that?
Because no one would know who he was anyway.
Exactly. They knew that they could push him off as though he was an original character, even though he came from Final Fantasy VIII, because nobody fucking played it.
I can hear them all. Holy shit.
Now, of course, that's not counting the characters in the tutorial, because you do start on the island with several Final Fantasy characters, one of which is from 8. Unfortunately, it's the worst character from 8.
Squall's not in it that early.
Ah! Ah! But like in the proper game itself, like when you actually get to the not tutorial bullshit that's boring in my opinion, yeah, you do meet some other Final Fantasy characters that are more known. But
Yeah.
yeah, I am still salty about Leon all these years later because it's dumb and I hate it. And people are like, "Oh, Final Fantasy VIII, is that the game with Leon?" That is a bannable offense in my channel.
See, I thought it was really interesting because when Kingdom Hearts 1 came out, I'd never really played the Final Fantasy series before. So when I played it, it was kind of interesting to, get to know those characters as well in
Yeah.
another game. So that's why I was interested, because I wanted to explore the Disney worlds and meet the, Final Fantasy characters and stuff like that. So it was like a whole different environment for me, which was really fun. So yeah.
It was very interesting for me because I was aware of the Final Fantasy series, and I had played little bits of some of the games, but I didn't make the connection when I played Kingdom Hearts 1 at first between Final Fantasy and like them being the same thing, because I wasn't necessarily familiar with all the characters that are in Kingdom Hearts from Final Fantasy. It wasn't until later I had already played quite a bit of Kingdom Hearts 1, and someone showed me, I think it was 8. I think it was something from 8, and I was like, I'm sure that guy's in Kingdom Hearts. And he's like, yeah, it's because there's Final Fantasy guys in Kingdom Hearts. And I'm like, oh, I knew that. Hey, isn't that Leon? Isn't that Leon from Kingdom Hearts?
Welcome to Retroactivity episode 5, where everybody just taunts me about Squall and Leon and that bullshit for 3 hours.
That's
Yeah, it is.
Why do we need anything else? Remember that bit? Fun fact, did you know you can actually win the fight with Squall at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 1?
Thank you for
You can
calling him
win that,
Squall. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, if you if you are lucky enough and if you're skilled enough, you can win that fight, and it makes no difference.
Wow,
Because
no extra dialogue or anything.
What happens is, there's a difference in what happens is, if you win, he gets kind of knocked down and winded a bit, and Sora passes out anyway because he gets tired from fighting.
Why?
He gets tired from fighting, and Sora's like, "Oh, I'm so tired," and he passes out, and he passes out from the fight anyway, and the scene continues as normal, and the only dialogue bit that's different is when the other characters appear, they make a comment like, "Whoa, he really had you on the ropes," instead, and that's the only thing that's different, and you pass out anyway.
So pointless. All that struggle for nothing.
It's so stupid, and I love it.
Isn't that Kingdom Hearts in a nutshell? You just struggle and
Yeah.
struggle for nothing.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
oh, I can't wait till we get to talk about some of the fights in Birth by Sleep that Brooke loves so much.
So
it's all coming back.
So speaking of fighting, so Kingdom Hearts 1, well, I mean, different games have different things to them, but roughly speaking, the combat throughout the series of the good games is pretty similar. We'll talk about not great games in a minute, but it's pretty similar. So the basic combat of the game is, it almost acts like a mix of your menu-based, turn-based RPG stuff with active movement, and that's weird, especially for the time. Like, that is super, super weird. But
Yeah, that was kind of like a new concept, right?
yeah, it
it's
wasn't
very
really
unique
something
for
that
the
had been
time.
done. Yeah, it was very unique. It was
See, like,
so
there was like
weird.
hack and slash games, but there was nothing like this.
Yeah, they
Like,
tried
have,
to
like, the-
blend
yeah.
JRPGs with hack and slash games, and in my opinion, I think they did it surprisingly well, especially for the time.
Oh, especially. It was really
Yeah.
fun, honestly.
Going back to it, it seems a little clunky, but at the time, like that shit was, well, there's a reason the first game was so popular.
Yeah.
It was new, it was fresh, and it was something that people hadn't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
it would lead to a lot of improvements and a lot of interesting changes in the way that the game is played. A lot of that is going to be Birth by Sleep, because Birth by Sleep does some interesting things with the combat.
What you got against Chain of Memories, bro?
We'll get there, asshat. But the combat at its core, while it was definitely new and interesting and surprisingly effective, it was, compared to the rest of the series at least, pretty basic. So just thinking about the basic combat and ignoring everything that would come in the future, how well do you think they implemented the combat in this game, just as a new idea?
I think, like, considering it was the first game, like, they definitely did some innovative things, I feel. And like what we were just discussing, how it's a mix of, hack and slash and turn-based. So it kind of appeals to different audiences as well. I think they did a really good job. I don't think it's aged well, but I think the playstyle was fun for sure when I played it. I will say the AI sucks. And they don't heal you at all. Just say
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, the AI is not great. It is famously bad.
Yeah, if there's anything that has, as much as the combat hasn't aged, if the combat hasn't aged well and the system hasn't aged well just because it's an older game, the AI has aged horribly.
Oh, yeah.
The computer AI definitely leaves something to be desired. However, I feel like in retrospect, it doesn't make up for it, but I feel like I'm a little more lenient with it because of how well they did for the time with the combat. I feel like it sucks and it's frustrating, but there's like that moment of and then it's okay. This is their first time. I'll let them off. And then when it happens in Kingdom Hearts 2, you're like, there's no excuse. You had time.
Yeah, you had time to fix this. I demand a cleaner combat.
Just like Geralt had time to heal me, and he didn't. Get your shit together.
Yeah, so that actually leads into something I wanted to, I guess, brainstorm a little bit. The two main party members that you get that persist across the game, across the games, and
Sora, Donald, Goofy.
yeah, Sora. What? Okay, yeah, cool, new character. That's fine. It makes sense. Whatever. Donald and Goofy. all the characters you could pick to be the
know exactly why
mainstay
they
of the
did it.
series as a party member, why Donald and Goofy?
I know. And I don't, well, this is speculation, but if I had to guess, because the three oldest and arguably the three most famous Disney characters of all time are Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Goofy. Because the Mickey Mouse they clearly had plans for, because King Mickey and his mysterious fucking, I'm gonna disappear and be all fucking mysterious in the first game and not appear at all. And then Donald and Goofy being because they're the two oldest Disney characters ever, and they're so famous that it doesn't matter what region or where they released it or what they did, people are going to know who Donald Duck and Goofy are. It doesn't matter if you know nothing about Final Fantasy, nothing about Square Enix games, nothing about any of that. Even if you don't know much about Disney, you're gonna know who Donald Duck and Goofy are.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair, but I still don't like it.
Agree. Well, it makes sense because, like, you know, the very first game they want to try to appeal to people to play, right? So, if they were going to introduce Disney characters, who do you think of? Mickey, Donald, Goofy, right? So it makes sense to pair those guys with another protagonist, Sora, right? So I think it just appealed to a lot of people.
Yeah, which, you know, up until they start getting batshit with it, Sora in the first game is very much, I feel anyway, the way for the player, not quite self-insert, but it's definitely the most easy to project onto, because in Kingdom Hearts 1, sure, he has character development, but, like, it's not crazy, but it's not meant to be, and then they go wild with it in later games, but I have a theory about that. And it also actually plays into the idea of Donald and Goofy then continuing to be your companions and it feeling weird as it goes through, especially with the more modern games. And further implements, I'm gonna kind of very quickly, my current theory is Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 exist and as games, more specifically Kingdom Hearts 1. And I feel like Kingdom Hearts 1, and I have no basis for this, but I feel like Kingdom Hearts 1 did better than they expected. And when it came to making more games, and they made Kingdom Hearts 2, and they made some of the other games, they started digging themselves a hole because they opened up all these plot lines in Kingdom Hearts 1 and all this stuff that went unanswered that they didn't know how to answer. And then they tried to answer it in Kingdom Hearts 2, and they opened even more plot holes, and they opened even more retcons, and they kept digging themselves in this hole where they didn't know how to fix it, and that's how you ended up with so many side games and so many branding paths and so many retcons, is because they weren't prepared for what they had brought on themselves, and then when they fucked up, they tried to fix it, and by fixing it, they fucked up more, and then they just kept struggling to keep their head above water. And the idea of, like, this kind of weird consistency that comes through with these characters that might not be as relevant anymore plays with that because they overstated the importance of Donald and Goofy in the first game. And then when they did it in the second game, at that point, it's established. You can't not have Donald and Goofy now because they've been established as the companions for the main character. So then they're stuck in that. And if they change that, people will be like, well, why is that changed?
It's like that dog meme sitting down with the flames. This is fine.
This is
a collection of Kingdom Hearts games.
Yeah, I get, and you're absolutely right. With them choosing Doonads and Goober as their two
Donbus and Gimber.
yeah, as their two characters. It makes sense, but like every other sentence in that game is just Sora, Donald, and Goofy. It's like it's a legitimate drinking
Sora,
game.
Donald, Goofy.
It's insane that it's just over and over. It's like, yeah, I know who it is. Thanks. Ugh.
We got to get the Keyblade.
We're here because our king told us to. Oh, okay.
Yeah, can we talk about how fucked up it is that in Kingdom Hearts 1, like, when fucking Riku's like, oh, the Keyblade's mine, you're not worthy to wield it, and Donald and Goofy are just like, fuck you, we're with the Keyblade, bro, and leave?
Yeah.
And it's not until later when Sora's about to get his ass kicked that Goofy's like, maybe we should side with the good guy. Like, they're full on like, fuck you, Sora, we're with the Keyblade now. And nobody... In one of the later games, Goofy dies. Goofy dies to a boulder.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Oh
He
my
just
god.
kill Goofy and then have to bring him back later. Yeah,
God, that was the
exactly,
whole
Josh.
thing.
Goofy dies.
He's fucking dead.
I mean, but like Donald and Goofy only like Sora because he has nice things, and like that's really the Disney
Yeah, they're
message
so
they wanted to hit home.
materialistic.
It was actually really sad because I really liked Goofy because like Goofy was, you know how like Goofy's supposed to be like this dumbass and whatever, but like in the
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts games, he actually gives you advice and it's like it
Yeah,
makes
so
sense.
I feel like that's the thing with Goofy, that obviously he's supposed to be Goofy, but at the end of the day, his whole character thing is that he's a single dad, and that
Mhm.
he's supposed to be like wise but stupid, and that although he's clumsy and although he's goofy, he's nice, he's caring, and he's supposed to be wiser than he appears.
Duh,
And-
I procreated. No! Why? One was too many.
Sora. Listen to me, Sora. Goofy doesn't procreate. Goofy fucks.
Oh my god.
Goofy gets more action than you. You should listen to me.
No,
Take a seat right here on Goofy's lap.
no, 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 no,
He fucks.
no.
So now that we went down that unfortunate rabbit hole, if you know what I mean, let's talk about the atmosphere in Kingdom Hearts 1, and not the that ever again. Yeah.
Oh, Goofy's set in the atmosphere, all right. About to get fucked by Donald again, not healing me.
That's my line.
That's why Donald has a staff, so he can just. No, we're not talking about this anymore.
Where is this going?
I don't. This right here is why we can't have nice things. So atmosphere. So we know
Atmosphere.
that we know that Kingdom Hearts 1 included a lot of Disney stuff, including a lot of Disney worlds, and a lot of Ben. Are you okay? Okay. And
the best world is in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2.
Oh. Oh, I know which one. Yeah, because it's my favorite.
I didn't know you liked the Gummy Ship Garage that much, Ben.
I need to go.
I just need to go. See you later.
I'm sorry.
Ben must go. His people need him. Yeah, disclaimer, I despise the Gummy Ship bullshit.
Oh, I hate it. The gummy ship is the worst thing in that game.
Yeah,
Like the worst thing they introduced into the series by far. It's not
So-
fun.
I feel like I'm less harsh on it because I played Chain of Memories, but and I'm like nothing can be that. But yeah, it's kind of dog shit. It's not. It's
It's
not
goofy
good.
shit. Oh, the look on your face was worth that. Oh, it was so worth it. Somebody give me a clip of that just so I can save his face like that forever, please. Fantastic. So yeah, atmosphere, right? So they gave us different
Atmosphere.
Disney worlds,
They did.
and some are better than others, but
Yeah.
for
that's
what they
true.
chose to be in their first game, the design of the worlds themselves we'll get to in just a minute, but the choice to have those worlds based on very particular Disney characters, do you think that they chose well in what they wanted for their first game, making sure they left interesting stuff for future games, of course, but making sure there was enough good there and enough recognizable there to really draw people in, kind of like you were talking with Donald and Goober being your main helpers? Do you think they did a good job at picking the worlds, or the characters and the worlds for it, or do you think that there could have been better for the first game?
Honestly, for the first game, I think they did a fantastic choice.
Mhm.
Like the Olympus Coliseum was really fucking cool. Like at least for the first game, you know how like you go in and do like a tournament is awesome. I think it's great. That was one of my favorite parts in the first game. Yeah, I just think they did a really good job with picking the ones that they did because they picked probably the more popular Disney worlds. Because we got like Peter Plant.
Planning that shit out.
waiting for us. Like as soon as I go live, I'm just gonna say something that's just not right. So Neverland, Aladdin, all that good stuff. I think they did such a good job with it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think they did a really good job of. So there's a lot of the classic Disney stuff in there. You've got well, in the first game, you've got Neverland, you've got the Olympus Coliseum from Hercules, you've got Agrabah, you've got a lot of the more
Mhm,
really famous Disney classics,
Hmm.
but
mhm.
they also threw in a lot of the more, well, at the time, recent Disney stuff, like my favorite world, Halloween Town.
Yes,
Mm,
that's
Like
world by far.
I feel like they threw in stuff as well that I feel like they definitely picked the worlds in the first game based on what they thought would be interesting. And while they definitely picked some of them because of the star power, it was clear some of the choices were made because they were like, we could make a cool world out of that.
Mm,
Halloween Town being one of those. They, I mean, Wonderland to an extent, because I feel like Alice in Wonderland, while popular, probably wasn't as popular as some of the other ones.
agree.
Um, and but that kind of the choices that they made, it was clear it was like, here are the big super famous ones, and here are the ones that we made really cool worlds out because we thought it would be cool. And I think the ones that they chose, clearly not because of the star power, turned out the best. I feel like the ones that were clearly more creatively driven turned out great. I mean, Agrabah is also great, and that's a star power one. But like Halloween Town, man,
it was such a
it's
I
so
love
good.
it. I
It's
love
so
it. So
good.
good.
I
The
love
music, the
Halloween Town.
atmosphere, just being able to like traverse in
Oh,
that world, it's so awesome.
I
I
love
love
it.
it.
And that actually brings something to my mind is how hard it must have been to create Kingdom Hearts.
Mm,
Just based on how many different characters that they
mm,
had to create for this game,
yeah.
like to bring to life, I should say.
Mm,
And not just like with like the graphic design and making them move in the right way, but also bringing in the proper personalities. Like you have
mm,
characters from like 8 different movies. So
Mm,
you have these characters that are already established, and you're making them interact with a character that you've created specifically for this game. Trying to create
yeah.
dialogue for them that matches their personalities. That's a challenge. And they had to do
Oh,
it
I
for
bet.
so many different things. Kingdom
yeah.
Hearts could not have been an easy game to make.
Oh,
Mhm.
definitely. There's so much. There's so much that goes into that like even just scratching the surface of and trying to think about like already brings up so many, like, Jesus, like, how did they even deal with it? You could, like, the voice actors, you've got so much pressure to make the characters how they were like in the films and the ones that people love. You've got them interacting with each other. Not only that, but how they fit into the world as well, because they were making three-dimensional worlds for you to explore based on well-known, already established properties,
Mm-hmm.
which meant that there was an expectation level that was set for every single one of those worlds. Every single one, there was going to be hundreds of thousands of kids that were going to go into those worlds and be expecting a Disney World, and oh my god, it's just like the movie. And especially for the time, and I think they did a phenomenal job in capturing that, especially considering it was the first game, it was a proof of concept, and for their first time, some of that stuff is amazing, and it's still some of my favorite stuff in the series.
It's so good. Like they did such a good job. Like I give them such a hard time for having such a convoluted story, but like
Yeah.
legitimately, I'm very impressed with how they brought life to the characters,
Hmm.
the dialogue,
Yeah.
like all that. Cause like, with Disney involved, you gotta make sure that, that shit
Oh
is,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
you
Like
gotta make sure
Disney,
you're representing the characters correctly.
Disney
Um
is notoriously like
a hard
unbelievably brutal with
Yeah.
that.
Yep. So they did a really, really, really good job. I don't know how well they did with like the characters with portraying like the Final Fantasy characters because I don't
Mm.
know them too well.
Hmm.
But in terms of the like Disney characters, they did a really good job with like representing their personalities, their dialogue, how they interact with the characters and stuff like that. I think they did such a phenomenal job.
Hmm. I we talked about what our favorite games were, and you guys already said what your favorite worlds in Kingdom Hearts 1 specifically was, Halloween Town, of course. For me, as odd as it is, I don't think I have a favorite world. I feel
Oh, you don't?
pretty similar about all of the ones in Kingdom Hearts 1. None of them really stand out to me as this one. None of them do that for me. But I don't necessarily hate any of them either. They're all just okay. But there's one exception to that. One exception.
Oh, really?
Anything with poo in it can fuck right off. I hate Winnie the Pooh, and they put it in every game. Woo!
That was a different response than I thought.
I forgot what he hates it.
I hate whatever it is, 1,000 Acre Woods or whatever. I hate it.
I liked it.
Ooh.
I hate Atlantica. Fuck that world.
Yeah, Atlantica. I deliberately avoided talking about Atlantica because I think it's the shortcomings of that system, and that out of all the worlds, I feel like it was the shortcomings of their translation from movie to game.
Yeah.
Atlantica was the most poorly done, and I feel like, especially with the notoriety that Little Mermaid has, it was
very lackluster. I feel in
Yeah.
comparison to the other worlds that were shown. Like I felt like they kind of half-assed it, honestly. So
I think the reason I don't dislike Atlantica as much as everybody else, which don't get me wrong, it does suck, but I think the reason I don't dislike it as much is because purely from a level design point of view, I suppose, they made it underwater, and that fundamentally changed the way that you did stuff compared to the rest. And so I felt like it just alone with that would have been harder to create for, because it's going against everything that the game had been up to that point as far as like movement design and everything. So because of that, I don't criticize it as much, because I know that they were trying to keep it water themed, but they didn't really know how, and so I don't necessarily fault them for that. Now, Kingdom Hearts 2, they had time. Okay,
yeah, they have
no excuse. But we'll get there. But yeah, every time Pooh is in anything, I hate it so much. I hate those little areas where it's like, hey, you got to go to this place, but all it is just a bunch of mini games that you're forced to do. I hate that.
I had so much fun doing those.
I also didn't grow up with Pooh, so every single time he's there, I'm just like, wow, okay, let's make the whole game slow down to a crawl. Great.
It was so much fun. I really enjoyed those little mini games.
You know, I'm beginning to realize why Jacob hated the Tasmanian Tiger 2 and 3 so much. I think it's just Pooh PTSD.
And that could mean a lot of things, Ben, but at least we know what you mean.
Oh my god.
Pooh
Yeah.
TSD.
So that actually brings me to my oh no. You've ruined that for me forever now. Thank you. But that brings me to like my next thing, and that is that recognizable Disney characters. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about the ones that are like the masters of their world, so to speak, you know, like Ariel or Tarzan or, you know, whatever. I'm talking about the ones that are on the sidelines in worlds where they seem a little out of place. Like, for example, you have Jiminy Cricket following you around the whole game. That's random.
Well, I mean, that's his whole thing. That's his whole thing in Pinocchio. Is he introduces himself and gets established as Pinocchio's conscience, metaphorically.
But Monstro is in the game.
Yeah, that's true.
So why is he with you and not with Pinocchio?
Because fuck you, that's why.
Yeah, it's not like it's a bad thing necessarily. It's just interesting that they took those liberties.
Yes, there probably is, because what you'll find is as well, a lot of the characters you see that aren't in their own Disney worlds, you know, like Donald and Goofy and so and so. I know that Jimmy Cricket is an exception to that, but a lot of the ones you see are ones who don't have a necessarily fully established property to make a world out of. I understand there's stuff with Goofy, things like Goof Troop and stuff, but more well-known stuff. But I feel like with Jiminy Cricket, and well, with Monstro, at least the only argument I could think of plot-wise is the whole point of it is that the worlds are being taken over and destroyed by darkness.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason why Traverse Town exists.
Yeah.
Because it's where everyone's gone, because fuck, our homes are gone. The only reason I could think is that Monstro is a remnant of the world that Pinocchio was in and is separate from the world because he's a big ass fucking whale.
Now,
whereas the rest of the Pinocchio world was completely destroyed by darkness.
now, you actually said the thing that kind of like bridges that with where I was going, and that's that you have these characters that aren't quote unquote strong enough to create their own worlds around. And yet, rather than just leaving them out, they found a place for them anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that, not completely, but I think in a way that helped give life to characters that even Disney fans may not have known about or cared as much about.
Yen Sid, because he's kind of like the person that guides the characters.
Yeah.
Definitely not a anagram of Disney. Don't know what you're talking about.
You know, wasn't that from like, oh god, what was it called? Fantasia? Something like that? Like in the like really old something Disney something?
I feel like the idea of the whole wizard character was the wizard specifically called Yen Sid in Fantasia?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Really? I
Yeah.
didn't even know that. I didn't know that the wizard was even named in Fantasia. It's been so long since I've seen it.
And it's so long since it existed too, because it's old as shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's great though.
I will admit I haven't seen Fantasia, but
But see, you're absolutely
Add it
right
to
though,
the list.
Brooke. Is you're talking about a character that doesn't really have enough behind them to create their own world, and yet they're given a spot in the game anyway. You're exactly right.
it's a pretty important role too, because he's the one who guides them
Yep.
throughout the worlds and stuff. So
also
he
the one who
felt a little
taught
bit out of place
Mickey.
for me.
He's also the one who like taught Mickey. Which is
Mhm.
probably a very ham-fisted metaphor considering his name is an anagram of Disney and he's the one who trained and guided Mickey to be king. But, you know.
Mhm.
I'm drinking so
It's,
many of these, I'm going to regret it here in about 2 hours or so.
Yeah, the boss at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1 is from Fantasia. It's the big demon dude.
Oh, yeah, that's like a
And it's the
boat or
Balrog, I
whatever.
think it's called.
Oh, I didn't even know that actually.
Yeah.
Something like that.
What
See,
do
that
you
that
think?
just makes me think that maybe they didn't expect the game to do as well as it did because they didn't expect to be making sequels with a boss that was
Yeah,
already a thing.
That's what my theory is that I don't think they thought it was going to be nearly as successful as it was, and that's how they've ended up in the hole that they're in.
Yeah.
Because they were like,
This is
they were like, so if people were like, so why in the first game did this happen? And they were like, because, because of this. And they were like, okay, but what about this? And they were like, well, here's this game where this happens. And they were like, what about this? And they're like, 0.2.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then that just kept going, and now here we are.
It's darkness.
And
Because-
and speaking of holes, let's
Oh.
talk about the trash can dumpster fire that is Chain of Memories.
Oh, I
Well,
thought we were going
I-
to talk about Squall again.
Pushing your
I
luck,
have
Ben.
not I have not played Chain of Memories, but
Okay, don't.
Yeah, don't just look up a plot synopsis.
I've seen I haven't played it, but I make it a point to at least watch the cutscenes of the game and stuff, and I've seen some of the gameplay and yikes.
Yeah. So it's one of those games where the story is important, and it's not even a bad story. Like, it's a fine story. It's just the
Yeah,
gameplay
it's
is
a very
garbage.
important story as well, I might add.
Like,
Yes.
Have you ever, Elias? I hate you.
Hate you too, Elias.
Ugh. But no, it's like, let's put Magic the Gathering in a 3D hack and slash. Why? Why would you do
Right.
that?
It's because like they did a fragmentary passage basically because Chain of Memories basically just sets up Kingdom Hearts 2.
Mhm.
That's what it does.
Yep.
And this story wise, it's super interesting, but man,
The disappointment in your face.
Yeah.
dude, I don't know what they were doing. Why?
I don't. And you know what? It's so hard for me because like the first hour of the game, I didn't mind. I thought it was okay. But it expects you to do so much. And in my opinion, it's one of those games where if you are a casual player, me, you hate it. If you are a hardcore, I'm going to learn this game and I'm going to beat its ass, and you get all the little nuances in the game and you finally figure it all out, it's actually really good. But nobody has time for that.
Yep.
Nope.
And that's
So,
honestly, that's the problem with Final Fantasy VIII. Yeah, I'm going to talk about Final Fantasy VIII for a minute, okay? Look,
Always go.
here's the problem with Final Fantasy VIII and why people don't like it. It's the exact same issue that Chain of Memories has, in that the combat is designed in such a way that if you understand it, the game is too easy, and if you don't, the game is too hard. And Chain of Memories does the exact same thing. Squeenix, stop it. Okay, feel better.
As we're saying.
All right.
So
passionate.
Chain of Memories. So the only reason that I've actually beaten Chain of Memories is because I technically played it with a friend. I didn't own the game. A friend of mine owned the game, and it was a case of he was like, "Dude, we play Kingdom Hearts 1?" I was like, "Yeah, we play Kingdom Hearts 1." He's like, "Dude, there's this other Kingdom Hearts game," and I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, look, it's totally awesome." And then I played it and was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
awesome. And he's like, the story's so good. And he starts like explaining the beginning of the story. I'm like, well, that is pretty cool. And whenever I got stuck on it, I'd just be like, just fucking take it back. I don't care anymore. I don't give it. And then he'd beat the bit I was stuck on. And I'd start playing it again. And I'd be like, oh, okay, just take it back. So I got through that game because I had someone who was good at the game to get me through it. And oh my god, story's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Don't
the
play-
story's
don't
good.
Play it. Watch the story summary, because the story summary is important, because
Very.
it sets up like so much of Kingdom Hearts. If you go into Kingdom Hearts 2 without knowing anything from Chain of Memories, and I would even argue without knowing anything from 350 over 2 days,
No, it's important.
no.
to a certain degree,
The way the
it's
games are
like-
designed, you're meant to play 2 before you experience 358 over 2.
because 358 over 2 came out second. But you can play it for you know what I would say? I would say at the time, that's how it should have been played. If you're someone who's looking to play the whole series now, I would say play it 358 over 2 first, because it just makes it easier on you trying to decipher things later.
I respectfully disagree, because it ruins a lot of the surprises in 2.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah,
Because of the way the games are
True.
designed.
Mhm.
358 over 2 is meant to be played after to kind of fill in the backstory. If you already know the
My-
backstory, then all these cool whoa
Yeah.
moments are just, yeah, I saw that coming.
My
It's like, eh.
rebuttal to that is it depends entirely why you want to play those games now. If you want to experience the story, agreed. If you want to catch up on the story because you want to play 3 and you played 1 and 2 and you don't give a fuck, then and you're trying to refresh your memory, then I'd say 358 over 2 first, because I feel like doing it in that order, at least if you're just trying to catch up and don't care about spoilers, makes it easier to process the timeline of things.
That's a very niche audience, though. The people that are like, hey, I don't really care about the
Yeah,
plot,
but
but I
I'm in
want to
that
replay
audience.
all the
Fuck
games.
you.
Yeah, well, Ben, sorry, okay? We can't all be in the 1% like you, okay? Sorry. God.
Look, anyway, back to shitting on Chain of Memories.
Right, so yeah, so here's my thought about Chain of Memories. The plot is so ridiculously crucial,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a Game Boy Advance game. The game is a
Yeah.
direct sequel to Kingdom Hearts 1. It is a direct continuation of the story. For all intents and purposes, story-wise, it might as well be Kingdom Hearts 2. Because it is a direct
Honestly,
sequel.
yeah.
So why is it a shitty spin-off game that was for the Game Boy Advance? Here's my thought. I think it was meant to be a spin-off.
Oh,
I think
got
that
themselves
when they
into
were
a
trying to
hole.
come up with how to make it work, I think they were trying to come up with a spin-off. And something happened. I don't know. I don't know what the hell happened, but they ended up needing to make it main series, and that's why the plot is so important. Either that, or whoever was in charge of the story for Kingdom Hearts 2 accidentally looked at the wrong game when they were writing the plot. I don't know which of those two is correct. Feel like it might be a little both.
So
Have we even explained like the battle mechanics of that game? Like the whole thing that's supposed to be cool and exciting?
By all means, Brooke. Please.
I
you go,
haven't
Brian.
played it.
Yeah,
You
there you
guys
go.
go ahead.
Ben,
Argue.
I tell you what, Ben,
So-
this one's all on you. I am gonna go take a piss.
So there's cards.
Yeah.
I don't
We
know much about it.
So because the combat system wasn't complicated enough with having a mix of hack and slash and JRPG, they were like, let's put cards in. let's play with cards.
Yeah, why not?
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna read something. Let me
Oh yes.
The combat in Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories uses a card-based battle system executed in real time. The player can jump and maneuver around the battle screen as they would on the field map, but all physical attacks, magic, and items and summonings are activated by playing cards. Cards are ranked from 0 to 9 and are used for making attack combos or breaking enemy cards, with the exception of 0 ranked cards, which are more expensive in the game's terms of card points compared to other cards of the same type and have other ranks. More CP are required to place higher ranked cards in the player deck. Card points, increased through leveling up, limit the number of cards that the player can use in their deck. Cards with a rank 0 can break any opposing card or combo if played after the opposing card or combo. But they can be broken by any card or combo, as well as, if this sounds complicated and bullshit, it's because it is. It's because it's stupid. And it's not fun. Well, at least I didn't think it was fun.
Wow, they make it sound way cooler than it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
It's-
so glad I didn't experience it. Yay.
It's not, from what I can remember, because it's been a long time and it was very like handy offy that I played the game. I didn't enjoy it, and I just wanted the story. And it was
Mhm.
like, it was confusing. It was difficult to learn, and just
no.
why did they make it a card game? Why did they
I
make
have
it
no
card?
idea. They're like, look, we need to do something different and cool and like bring people in, and let's just throw some cards in there. Call it a day.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Also Moogles.
Oh yeah, Moogles are in there, aren't they?
Yeah, the Moogles are the shops.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Moogle shops.
That's crazy. I
Yes, you
forgot
know.
about that.
Fuck Moogles.
What's wrong
Fuck
with
them.
Moogles?
Come back to me
Oh.
when you've done the Beast Tribe and of the Moogles in LordBrooke. Come back to me
Oh,
then.
sorry. I am
I
but a
hate
flesh.
Moogles. They're evil. They're little furry bastards, and I'm gonna strangle them with their own palms.
Wow, it's like you stole all over again. Jesus Christ.
Look, I'm gonna swing a Moogle by its palm and beat you straight to death with it.
God.
That's where I stand. This is my hell, and I will die on it. And I will die on it, swinging Moogles like nunchucks.
Oh my God. What did they do to you?
I feel like I missed something important.
Oh my God.
To be swinging Moogles like nunchucks by their palms.
Yeah, I did, and I have so many questions. The first
I'm
one is,
hoping-
what
I
the
hope
hell
that's-
happened?
I was just talking about how Moogles suck.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
And there were the shops, because they're the shops in Kingdom
Oh.
Hearts. Well, they're the shops in like all the Kingdom Hearts games, but I was just talking about Moogles and they suck. But you know,
Why though?
yeah, I did.
Oh, you did?
I said do the Heavensward Crafting Beast Tribe and then come back to me because it sucks and I
That's
hate it and it's
That's
tedious
where
and it's
originated from?
boring and also just fuck Moogles.
What?
Fuck Moogles. I said it.
Moogles are
Hey,
adorable, but they're terrible.
Oh yeah, they're cute. They can be cute. Doesn't mean that they're not evil little bastards.
Wow. Well,
You have a massive hate boner for Donald Duck, so don't. You hate Donald Duck with a burning passion.
here,
So,
Donald Duck does not heal you. He will just stand there and look at you. You know what? The Moogles will probably help you out, man. They at least look
You know
cute.
what? Good King Muggle disagrees. Anyway, what are we talking about?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I need to go use the bathroom again just to see what happens.
You go away, come back, it's like we
No,
were never
leave me
talking.
Gonna go on another rant.
Look, the long and short of it is Chain of Memories sucks, but the story is really good.
Yeah.
Watch the cutscenes, man.
I agree. I agree with
Really
that.
good.
Watch the cutscenes, man.
Just watch the cutscenes.
Speaking of, I was trying to think of a good segue there, and I've got a whole lot of nothing. My ass is on fire. I just really wanted everybody to know that.
Damn.
Okay.
Like,
You know
I
what
just
I'm
went to
gonna
take a
do?
piss, and then now it's just like, I can't even
It
sit down
burns.
right. Like,
So
oof.
I'm going to preface this by saying next would be Kingdom Hearts 2, but before we go to Kingdom Hearts 2, what I want to say about Chain of Memories is Chain of Memories, your story might be great, but I blame you entirely. And I blame you entirely for the rabbit hole that Kingdom Hearts then went down. Because if you hadn't done all your fucky shit with memories and nominee being Kyrie's nobody and the idea that fucking they can't remember anything from Chain of Memories because as they worked their way through Castle Oblivion, they were losing their memories and the only way to get them back was to forget everything from Chain of Memories and they had to forget who nominee was. And I blame you. It's your fault, Chain of Memories.
Oh,
It's your fault.
okay. You never
Oh,
said
yeah,
who you were
fucking
blaming, so I thought you were talking to me this entire time. And I'm like, what the fuck did I do, Ben?
You won't even right. You can play through the Kingdom Hearts series, and if you've not played Chain of Memories and you get to Kingdom Hearts 3 and Riku's having his fucking soul bonding moments with Replica, you don't even know who Replica Riku originally is if you've not played Chain of Memories.
I mean, people could play it all, but not like understand anything still.
I mean, true, but the fact that if you haven't even watched the cutscenes or played Chain of Memories, you don't have any of that context, and there's such important things later down the line, like, and you didn't even know Chain of Memories was properly a thing, you would be like, why the fuck is there two Rikus? Why can't they remember anything? Who the fuck is this blonde
I mean,
bitch?
that's pretty
Why can
much
she-
me.
And then you play Kingdom Hearts 2, and so much of that is important, and you're like, well, thanks for telling me, game. You would know nothing about any, like, when, like, the Shion reveal would mean nothing, because you don't know who Nominee is.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
That's true. Kingdom Hearts 2.
Well,
So Kingdom Hearts 2.
before we get into the great game that Kingdom Hearts 2 is, people are asking about Coded and or Recoded. I just want to go ahead and say, we're not going to be talking about Coded because there's nothing to talk about because the game is a pointless waste of space. The only thing that matters in that game in any way, shape, or form is the secret ending, and that shit is dumb.
That game, Coded exists to give context to things they shouldn't have had to give context to.
Yep, and it's
It
dumb.
literally exists to be like, hey, Sora, you have loads of fucked up soul shit, heart shit going on. Fucking fix it, bro. And Mickey Mouse is like, huh? We better tell him to fix it. And then sends a letter off to them at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2. And then it's like, hey, there's a secret ending as well. It's super important later. But you have to play the whole terrible game to do it. I actually don't know. That's not fair. I don't know if Coded is terrible.
Here, let me tell you the plot of Coded, all right? We put you in a computer. There's something wrong with you. Wow, maybe you shouldn't have fucking put me in a computer then. Credits. There you go. That's the whole game. Don't worry about it. Don't fact check that. Just move on with your life. That's what happens.
Well, actually, the thing that makes this so much worse is that the plot, not only is it pointless because it gets the story of the entire series nowhere, but it's so needlessly complicated. Like, Jimmy Cricket, oh, I've got my book. I've been writing all my stories down. Look at all the stuff you've done. Wait, you didn't do that. Somebody's talking to me through my book. Let's make a fucking computer simulation out of it, says Mickey fucking Mouse. Why? Oh, hey, right, we have a computer simulation. It's bugged out. Hey, Sora, in you go.
Yeah, it's like, what's the solution to fixing this book? Let's Tron it. Let's just fucking Tron. Let's just go.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? They then put Tron in a different Kingdom Hearts game, and it's better than Coded.
Yup.
Yep.
Oh, so there is actually something I completely forgot to do. Kingdom Hearts 1. So we have a rating system that we do on games as we go through them. And you can pick one of 4 tiers. You can have it be essential, which means you think that if someone is going to play this series, they absolutely have to play it. You can go recommended, which means if you miss it, it's not the end of the world, but you really, really should play it. You have optional, which is, I mean, you can, but you don't need to. And then the last one is no, which is pretty self-explanatory.
I have a request. Can I ask for this episode for haha no to be specially amended?
What do you mean, Ben?
Can I have it be specially amended to haha watch the cutscenes?
Yeah,
because there's several games where I'm like, don't bother playing them. It's not worth it. Just watch the cutscenes.
Sure. Just for you, Ben. Just this once. Yes. But before we talk about obviously what that's for, chain memories, Kingdom Hearts 1. And we'll start with you, Brooke. What do you think Kingdom Hearts 1 falls as?
I say it's essential because it's the beginning of like the story and like, you know, how Sora goes out on his journey and it kind of explains everything and the, you know, the character settings and everything like that. So I think it's essential. I think it's good. I would recommend it.
Ben?
Yeah, agreed. Kingdom Hearts 1 is essential. It's where the series starts. It's where the story starts. It's where the game got its roots. It's a perfect proof of concept, and it works exactly as it was meant to as the first game in the series. It's one of the best in the series, especially for what it was and what it is.
Yep.
It's goofy. It's stupid. It's great. It's a good game. Definitely essential. And also, never get to
No, when you said it's goofy, I swear to God, I thought you were gonna say it's Donald.
It's goofy. It's Donald. It's Sora.
So yeah, I also agree. I think that it is essential. I think that even today, it is still a good game. It has a lot of cool, varied environments, cool, interesting characters, and I think it does a really good job at being the game it set out to be. Chain of Memories, however,
skip it. Just watch the cutscenes. The cutscenes. Skip it.
Watch the cutscenes. Never. If I find out that anybody that listens to this podcast or watches this game went out after this podcast and played Chain of Memories, I will hunt you down.
Whoa.
I will actively hunt you. Listen to me. Don't play the game. Watch the. Don't give them the satisfaction. Watch the cutscenes.
All right, so I've just added Chain of Memories to our stream schedule out of pure spite.
Oh no.
Okay, but you're lending me the money for the flight.
Oh, that's next level masochism right there. Oh, fly over here and punish me. Ooh.
Yes, he did, Brooke, and yes, you have every right to come with me to punish him.
Yes.
Wow.
Just cut to me and Brooke outside Jacob's door, cracking our knuckles.
Hey, Jacob, let's take you to medieval times. Let's do it.
I got some delicious chicken for you to try.
Delicious. It's a
So,
dragon. It's a
for those of
dragon.
you that don't know, I went to medieval times and I got some really bad food poisoning, and Brooke did too, and it fucking sucked, okay? The chicken was rancid.
It was the day before Versus Expo, so that was fun.
Yep.
Yay.
Got to spend that night on the toilet, thrown up in the sink, and having to call maintenance to come unclog the sink. That was fun.
I didn't realize that medieval times was so method in how they prepared their food.
Seriously, they're out to murder you, man.
The reason that this happened is when they brought me the menu, there was a low-calorie option that's supposed to help with your diet. So I went with that one. I didn't know that it just meant that it was going to make you shit everything you've ever eaten.
A low-calorie diet? I just got whatever. I want this dragon. I want this dragon sword. Yes.
I love the idea of just being at this table and Jacob's like, I'm really trying to watch what I'm eating at the moment. I'm gonna look up what those calories, and Brooke's just standing there like in full cosplay with a sword going, "Give me dragon meat!"
no, like Tyler bought me this this glowing sword. I was
Oh
waving it
my
around.
God, I
Like, Jacob
remember
can
that.
even fucking say I was waving it around. I was so into it, dude.
Oh, I remember that. You didn't give a shit.
No, I was like, fuck yeah.
She did after the chicken though.
Oh, Ben, why are you mean to me?
That's my job.
Yeah, it is in
It
your
was
job
awful.
description. It was
It's
was
what you don't pay
absolutely
me to
awful.
do.
It's like, yeah, the next day, I think that Josh and Tyler had kept some stuff in my room so they didn't have to like cart stuff back and forth and back and forth.
Mhm.
And they were like, hey, can you we had that stuff in your room, and I was dead at that point. I was in bed. I had
Yeah.
shit my brains out, and I had thrown up all the contents of my stomach. I don't know how they got in, but they got in somehow, and I'm just laying there in bed.
I remember that too.
It was so bad.
It was the worst, Jacob, because like my room wasn't even available to like go in. I had to go to the staff room when we transferred, and everyone's coming in. They're like, "Oh my God, Brooke, hi!" I'm like completely just dead. Like, don't talk to me, please.
And it was very fortunate for me because I had a lot of people rooming with me, but I showed up a day early so I could help with some stuff. And so I had the hotel room to myself that night. So I was just sprawled all over the bed, just if there had been other people there, it would have been a nightmare.
Oh my God, it was a whole thing. Memories, yay!
Yeah.
And honestly, all of that accurately describes what it's like to play Chain of Memories.
Yeah.
That's the segue we like here. No, I swear to you, every time I go to a con, I get food poisoning. Every single time.
Seriously?
Yeah, I went to PAX South back in January before the world fell apart, and I got sick off of something. And when the Uber had pulled up to the hotel, I fell out of the vehicle and threw up all over the parking lot of the hotel.
Oh no!
It was so bad.
Oh, no.
Every time I go somewhere, just it was awful.
Dude,
And then of course,
awful.
I was
That's a
laying in
curse.
it, so I had to throw away my clothes. So it was
Oh no, dude.
yeah, because I wasn't laundering that. No way. Nope.
I think you're just cursed, Jacob.
I am. My favorite thing in the world, food, actively tries to kill me
Dude,
everywhere I go.
same. It's great. Sushi, just
Yep.
top tier.
Yep. There's actually a sushi place opening up in my town soon, and I'm excited. And if it sucks, I'm gonna cry.
Ooh.
Oh, I can't wait for
why
meth
not?
sushi.
Ben, that one time you had sushi when we were in Canada, and I want to go to that exact place
Oh,
again.
I know. We need
I'll
to
come
go
this
back.
time. I don't
Yes,
think-
come with us to
Yes.
Toronto and go to that place because
So good. Mango.
so
mm.
good. Oh,
I'm down.
mm.
All right. So thanks for coming to the food podcast,
Yeah, I know.
where we talk about delicious food and throwing up and
Sorry, I
shitting.
had to bring it up. I had
It was so bad. We needed to comfort chat about food for at least 10 minutes to get over it, so we could talk about Kingdom Hearts 2.
This is the secret agent Jacob equivalent of cuddling, just to keep chat feeling better about having to hear about Chain of Memories.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's okay. We're here for you.
Yep.
We're here for you.
Yep. Yeah.
Kingdom
And
Hearts
we also
2.
talked about shitting our brains out, of course. But
I
Yep.
mean,
Gotta.
it's inevitable.
mm.
Oh fuck!
Oh my
Man.
What did you do?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Are you just flinging yourself everywhere, dude?
You're
Like,
s-
what's going on?
You're supposed
You
to talk
okay?
into your mic, not eat it. Come on, Ben.
That's the second podcast in a row that's happened where my desk has shuffled and my mic has gone flying.
It's a mainstay of retroactivity. Ben to just yeet his mic somehow.
At some point, the audio listeners are just going to hear the other side of my room for some reason.
They're not gonna know why. So,
Kingdom Hearts
Oh.
2.
Kingdom Hearts 2, yeah. So,
Hmm.
so I'm gonna start Kingdom Hearts 2 with not what you would expect, not the plot, not the way the game starts. We'll get to that, but with gameplay changes. What it did to the original Kingdom Hearts 1 formula that makes it a better game, and what did it do wrong, if anything?
I'm trying to remember like what they added for Kingdom Hearts 2,
Well,
honestly.
they added the drive gauge. That was a thing in Kingdom
Oh
Hearts 2.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
which lets you transform into your drive form, which is not a tie-in with Disney's Cars because that didn't exist yet.
Yet.
Oh yeah, there's like team attacks too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
team
that's where
attacks were
like the
cool.
summons came from as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can bond with your friends.
Oh yeah, friendship.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it expanded a little bit in every direction of what the game could do, and
Mhm.
I feel like more than just the combat, I feel like the way that you explore worlds felt more streamlined, felt more fluid. Just overall, like little tweaks, nothing like crazy. Oh, this is the staple of this game. No, it's just like a lot of little subtle things that added up to a better overall experience.
Agreed. They definitely took everything from one and made two a lot better. Absolutely. Because between the two, I will still say Kingdom Hearts 2 is better than one by far.
Yeah.
And then Birth by Slave. So I just think they did everything right in that one, honestly. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to add that in reading up on this, and I took note of this on purpose because I thought it was fucking hilarious. And the thing I was reading about Kingdom Hearts 2, it says, and I copy and pasted this from the thing. It says, in response to the criticism of the first game, the gummy ship feature from the first game was reimagined to be, quote, more enjoyable for the player, although it is vastly up for debate whether that was done successfully.
No, Brad.
Oof.
Oh.
So bad. I mean, like I understand that people enjoy it, that's fine, but like for me personally, I thought it was like the least interesting thing of the games is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
gummy ships.
Yep, I
It's
agree.
just so tedious, it's boring. It's just like I just want to get to the other world and, get started, like
Right. Yeah.
I just did not enjoy it at all.
Yeah. I think that kind of leads into one of the important things about Kingdom Hearts 2, and that's the new worlds that it added, the different
Mhm.
characters that they brought in with those new worlds, and where we got to see stuff that we weren't exactly expecting. For me, the thing that stands out in that is the Pirates of the Caribbean
Oh, I love
stuff.
that world so
Like,
much.
don't get me wrong, I love it. I think it's great, but a lot of the other stuff we'd seen up to that point were animated movies or shorts from like the 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever.
Mhm.
And now comes along something that was, I'm sure you guys know what I mean when I say this, but like a proper movie, quote unquote. Like a live action movie with like actors, like it's all filmed and everything. Pirates of the Caribbean was
Mhm.
like that. And now they've taken that and they've somehow put that in to a video game. That is a very different beast compared to taking something that's animated and just moving it over to something that's animated.
Mhm.
Because you already have a pretty good idea of what you want to do. But when you have these characters that are quote unquote real and you need to animate them inside of a video game,
Mhm.
that's a completely different field. That's a completely different mindset that you have to work with on how to do that. And I think they did it really well. But
I think so too.
but it's like, it's a little jarring at first because you're not really expecting that. And I think that's
Mhm.
interesting. I think that shock factor of that is like, wow, what else can they do?
Mhm.
And that adds to that sense of wonder that you get, especially the first time through the game.
It's honestly such a like unique world too, because like as you mentioned, like all of them are like from, Disney movies and stuff like that. But like this one's like, a IRL movie and stuff. And so it's really interesting to see them like research it, get the characters right, like the world, like just exploring the world is just really cool to me. And I just really like it. It's really well done. I love Jack Sparrow, so it's great.
I think it's really interesting because it was an addition of a world and it's opened the door to the idea of it's not necessarily all about the classic idea of a Disney movie. That there can be worlds and levels based
Mhm.
around Disney properties, not necessarily classic Disney films. Which, I mean, for the future of the series, has some very possibly interesting implications, considering that Disney owns basically everything now.
Mhm.
Kingdom Hearts 4 is just going to be the Marvel world and the Simpsons world, and then
Star
wait.
Wars.
and the
Ask them at this
Star Wars.
point.
Dude, they're gonna in a future Kingdom Hearts game, if there isn't a Star Wars world of some description, I will eat my shoes, all of them.
All the shoes.
I am so convinced that it's such a huge cash cow for them that in the next Kingdom Hearts game, if there isn't even some passing level resemblance or character from Star Wars, I'd be incredibly surprised.
Yep. And
Yeah, actually, at this point, yeah,
yeah.
I would be surprised.
I want a lightsaber Keyblade. Come on.
Oh my
mean-
god, that would be so cool, dude.
I mean, yeah. There's a lot of this stuff from Star Wars that just lends itself. Like, could you imagine having a little R2 unit on your gummy ship, though?
But imagine Sora being a Jedi, like having Jedi powers and the fucking like that would be so cool. Okay, I'm all
Yeah.
about that. I'm ready.
Force choke the final boss. Let's go.
Kingdom, could you now? Again, this is just me blowing like fucking brainstorming. But could you imagine in Kingdom Hearts 4 if you got world-specific abilities, and because you were in that world, you could use abilities that were based around things in that world?
Midichlorians.
I think I nearly threw up.
I'm
nearly
sorry,
threw up.
man. I'm sorry. You opened the door for that. I had
That
to. I'm
word.
sorry.
That word is just.
that word.
I mean, Riku would be
My God.
Darth Revan, right? Like, I mean, come on.
Riku the Sith. Oh my god.
That'd be amazing. So much potential here, and I want it to happen.
Darth Xehanort the Wise.
Oh my god,
no.
no. Yes.
I ever tell you the story of Darth Xehanort the Wise?
All right, get on it. Let's do it. I'm down.
I want that. I want that so much. Speaking of really cool worlds, though, there's one in particular, and as much as I wish it was Mulan, no, I do like the Mulan world.
Is this
But
gonna be the one I think it is? Is this gonna be
Timeless River.
Timeless Rover?
Oh yeah, it's got to be Timeless River. I mean,
Rubber
it's
hose,
so
baby.
unique in the way that it works, and I hadn't seen anything quite like it until Cuphead.
Yeah.
And because that style, that wasn't really the kind of cartoons and animation that I grew up with. Sure, I knew it existed, but I never really saw it done that way. And Kingdom Hearts 2 and the Timeless River just, I don't know. There was something about it I just
Yeah.
really, really liked.
I do love the Timeless River. Even like the crackly, like high frequency boosted audio and everything. Oh,
It was definitely the more unique like area for sure. Like it was so cool. Honestly, I really enjoyed it.
And getting to see what interesting things they can do with that was just really interesting.
Oh
to me.
yeah, it was
I
so
liked
cool.
the throwback of seeing the characters in their old designs as well.
Mm.
Really cleverly done.
Yeah.
Just like so good. Apart from Pete. Don't know why Pete's not in his old design. He's still in his Kingdom Hearts design.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. In that world, for some reason, everyone else is like their old design and Sora gets, but Pete's just like, I got my belts. I'm Kingdom Hearts, bitch.
Now, you'll have to remind me because I don't remember all the worlds in Kingdom Hearts 2. But were there any repeats from Kingdom Hearts
there
1?
was a lot.
Yes, there was a lot. There's the Olympus, Halloween Town, Aladdin. What else? 100 Acre Woods, Atlantica.
Yeah,
Yep.
Hollow Bastion.
Yeah, Hollow Bastion.
Coliseum, there was the
Twilight Town.
Agrabah Twilight Town. Pride Rock was new. Port Royal was new. Land of Dragons was new.
Yeah, the Olympus Coliseum. Yeah, there's a lot of reoccurring
Yeah.
worlds.
So, in your guys' opinion, do you think that they adequately improved those old worlds to fit with the improvements overall that they made to Kingdom Hearts 2, or do you think they just kind of copy-pasted?
I'm trying to remember. Because they made
Yeah.
a different
Yeah,
world,
I'm
right?
Yeah. I feel like it's now trying to remember the differences because now my brain is melding them together. I'm like,
You know,
Mhm.
seriously, like everything's just meshed together, you
Which-
know.
which is perhaps a testament to the fact that they made the worlds feel so connected. Maybe.
Mhm.
Maybe it's such a partially because we're terrible with memory, partially because maybe they're
Maybe.
just doing a really good job of making it feel like it was still the same
Mhm.
interconnected world that it was before.
Mm.
That it's difficult to discern the two because you're like, hey,
Mhm.
was that Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't know. It was definitely Halloween Town though.
Yeah, because they had like different objectives, different story and stuff. So they did make it different enough. And they introduced some new characters in these worlds as well, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think they did a really good job. That's why I still think Kingdom Hearts 2 is far superior because they really solidified a lot of those things.
Mm.
So
And
yeah.
yeah, and also Tron, fucking space.
I love Tron. And
It was so cool.
and not that this has anything to do with Kingdom Hearts, but Tron Legacy is so good.
It is.
And it is so good because of Daft Punk. Changed my mind. That movie would not be
you're
half the
right.
movie it was without Daft Punk. Sorry.
Okay, but again, random tangent, but the best Tron segment in any game ever is definitely in Saints Row 2. Sorry, 3. Saints Row the 3rd. That's the best Tron segment in any game ever.
Oh god, I'm trying to
Okay,
remember whether it was 3 or 4. But you get Sid that follows you around, and he's hacking into a thing, and he's just like fuck. It's like my favorite part in anything ever. I will never forget the first time I heard that.
It's so stupid, and when you get like when you're in the simulation and they're trying to turn you into something powerful and they accidentally turn you into a sex doll.
What?
They turn you into, yeah, you're inside a simulation and they're like trying to get you your strength and power back, and you get turned into a sex doll, and then they're trying to turn you back and they accidentally turn you into a toilet.
Yeah, Saints
And
Row
you're
is
like
kind of
running
wild.
around, you're like running around with a machine gun as a toilet, and it's great.
It's
If you Brooke, if you ever want to drop kick someone in the nuts while waving a dildo around while you're a toilet, play Saints Row the 3rd.
Yeah,
All right, I'll keep that in mind.
Very specific niche, but if you're ever looking for that experience.
All right.
Saints
Sounds like a
Row is
violent
incredible
ride.
purely because of the dubstep gun. It is the greatest innovation in gaming. It is a gun that shoots music. It is. Anyway, Kingdom Hearts.
Kingdom
Hearts.
Yeah.
Put Saints Row and Kingdom Hearts.
Oh
Disney,
no.
buy them.
Oh,
Buy Saints Row,
no.
put it in Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, I don't think I like where that would go. But anyway, we've
That
talked
would
a
be
lot of.
Keyblade and a half.
Wow, sorry, your Keyblade's looking a little floppy
The penetrator.
and veiny.
Penetrator, oh my God.
That's what it's
That's
called.
what it's called.
The dildo, the baseball bat dildo. It's a giant purple dildo that's a baseball bat, and it's called the penetrator.
And it flops around.
And it flops around as you swing it. Dude, right, Brooke, we need to play Saints Row 3 because it's so good. You'll love it.
It is absolutely insane. So we've talked a lot of good about Kingdom Hearts 2, about how good it is.
Just keep going.
I'm gonna try. We talked a lot about Kingdom Hearts 2 is great. But there's something about Kingdom Hearts 2 that I feel we need to talk about that a lot of people, myself included, don't like. And that is the 5-hour fucking tutorial.
Oh yeah,
It
there's
is-
a long ass tutorial.
It is absurd,
that is
and
a
it
long
feels so
tutorial.
ridiculously out of place. And I don't know why they decided to do that.
They just didn't want to hear you say when you walked away, please. Teach me more about this game. They wanted to cover their bases.
I'm done. Ben, I hate you.
Yeah, dude, you've hated me for a long time. Like, this isn't new news.
I'm used
Like,
to it, whatever, man.
this is old news. Anyway,
Anyways.
so tutorial.
Yeah,
I mean-
so the tutorial could have worked if it wasn't so ridiculously drawn out. There's
I
too
kind
much.
of just like 5 hours worth. Like I don't remember. I don't
Well,
know. I kind of like
it-
any bad parts of the game. I kind of just like.
It's
Throwing
not
them back
legitimately
behind.
5 hours. It's more like 2.5, 3.
Mm,
But that's still far too
Still
long for a
long.
tutorial.
way too long. Like I really hate games that kind of like hold your hand like that though. Like
Yeah,
I
it's
kind
like-
of just want to be thrown into it and
Yeah.
just do it. You know.
yeah, and it tries to do this thing where, ooh, mysteries, ooh, what was that thing? Ooh, there's a mysterious mansion on the outskirts of town. Ooh, but there's a good chance you've already played Kingdom Hearts 1 when you get to Kingdom Hearts 2. So it's like, but I want to know what happens with all the characters that I know and love. What is this shit? And just, it's always felt like a bit of a nasty stain on an otherwise fantastic game.
Yeah, I think it's just like a small thing in comparison to the whole game. It's just so good, you know? So yeah, it kind of sucks that like there's so much tutorial, but I think like the overall experience was good. So
yeah, I think the rest of the game makes up for it for sure.
Yeah, I feel like as well, like I feel like maybe it was like they were being overly cautious with how they did Kingdom Hearts 1, that when it got so big and popular and Kingdom Hearts 2 was so anticipated for its release. Maybe it was like a caution thing of, this is a very unique gameplay style. Yes, we did it in the first one. We've made a lot of tweaks. There's going to be a lot of people new to the series that have never done this kind of thing before, and it's maybe a product of being overly cautious with their player base. I feel like a lot of game companies in general, a lot of game devs do that, especially these days. They're all very cautious to rely on the intelligence of their player base, because you end up with things like the guy who reviewed Cuphead couldn't figure out how to double jump. And it's like, there are idiots, but the vast majority of their player base would have been fine. But I feel like it's probably a risk they don't want to take.
yeah, like what was I gonna go with? For like newer players, a lot of people will probably just skip the first game. They're like, oh, that doesn't look like fun. I'm gonna play 2. So maybe that's why they did such a longer tutorial for like newer players who are just gonna play for the gameplay. I guess. I don't know.
You know what's funny about that to me is I love the idea of somebody who hasn't played Kingdom Hearts 1 or any other Kingdom Hearts game picking up Kingdom Hearts 2 when it came out and be like, I have no idea what's going on in this game. And asking their friend, hey, you played Kingdom Hearts 1, what's going on in this game? And then being like,
I don't know, man.
I don't know any of these characters.
And you look at the wiki, they're like,
yeah, they're like, I don't know. And they're like, Chain of Memories, what's that?
Trash. Just don't think about it.
And you know, that honestly kind of leads into the one thing that I still had written down for Kingdom Hearts 2, and that's that this is where it starts to get a little convoluted. Like, we're not full on convoluted yet.
This is where it starts.
But this is where it starts. Yeah, because like, okay, so look, here's the thing, all right? Kingdom Hearts 1, if you don't know that there's going to be 11 other fucking games, it's fine. Most of the stuff there you can figure out, and you might have a few questions, but for the most part, as a self-contained title, it's not too bad as far as like convolutedness goes. Chain of Memories exists. So then Kingdom Hearts 2...
Yeah, well, the point of Chain of Memories was to set up Kingdom Hearts 2. So Chain of Memories deliberately has a lot of things that go unanswered, because it was like, you better play Kingdom Hearts 2 to find out. And then they didn't really answer all that stuff. For instance, here's the thing, like, if you haven't played Chain of Memories and you play Kingdom Hearts 2 and you're introduced to the Organization 13 and you're told they have 13 members, you don't meet all 13 members of Organization 13, because some of them aren't in that game. Some of them are in Chain of Memories.
Yeah.
And it's like, shouldn't there be more of you? And they're like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You didn't play this game? So you're bad, man.
Yeah. And they're going to do that all through the series. Oh, you didn't play this one thing that came out for a particular cell phone?
You buy it.
Did you not have Verizon as your cell phone carrier?
Let's start with the fact that you don't even play as the main character of the first game in Kingdom Hearts 2 properly to start with.
Yeah, that's the problem, though. Is like, I don't think the tutorial would have been nearly as bad if you played it with characters you recognized, but it felt like such a disconnect from the first game, because it's like, you had all this build-up from Chain of Memories, and now what even is happening? Who are these people? Why should I care?
Who are these people? Why should I care?
And you,
why is I want to know how many people sat there and were like, Roxas, Sora, what the what kind of bullshit?
Yeah,
it's just, I don't. this is one of the things of like when you're someone who's played the Kingdom Hearts games or knows the story, and you know about the story of fucking number of days.
358 over 2.
358. I keep going to say 258 over 2. I don't know why. 358 over 2 days is like I get why. And I understand why they did the way they did, but it doesn't make it any less infuriating that you're dropped in and it's like, hey, you're playing as Roxas. You love Roxas, right? And you're like, who? Why?
Yeah.
Why? And then they're like, here, tutorial. Oh, by the way, go wake up Sora. And he's like, Sora's asleep? And you're like, yeah. Sora's asleep. Didn't you know? And you're like, no. Why is he asleep? He's like, oh, well, he doesn't remember anything from the last game. What last game? The first game? No, the game you didn't play.
You know, the one between 1 and 2? You know that number?
And you're like, the one between 1 and 2? And you're like, well, what happened in it? It's like, they don't know either. Go play it and find out.
No.
And you're like, and all you've got to notice is, hey, fucking remember to thank Naminé. And you're like, who the fuck is Naminé? And you're like, waiting the memories.
It's a whole thing. It's a whole
And it's like, why won't you tell me any of these things, game? And it's like, it was your problem, but let me tell you something else. They're important, so pay attention.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's like Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 are both on PS2. So it's like, well, where's Chain of Memories? It's on Game Boy Advance. It's like, what? What? Why? It's not even the same company that makes the consoles. You went from a Sony console to a Nintendo console, then back to a Sony console. Why? And they're like, fine, we'll put it on PS2. Port, shitty port. Ugh, whatever.
But then you start to get into the whole mess of the idea of nobodies. Which, by the way, can we briefly talk about the fact that, okay, so the thing that has had its heart removed is called a nobody, and the thing without a body that's just a heart is called a heartless. Who the fuck made that decision? Who the fuck got that the wrong way? Who was like, okay, so this thing has had their heart removed because darkness. The heart will be called the heartless, and the body will be called a nobody, even though it logically should be the other way round. Who's Hoomst thought that was okay, and then, oh, but when you kill them both and put them back together, they're called a somebody. Fuck off. No.
Oh,
we all just don't know what the fuck's going on.
Look, and then why the fuck? Why when you kill Ansem in the first game and then you kill fucking Xemnas in the second game? Then when it comes back, he doesn't look like Terranort like he should. He looks like old man Xehanort. And then they try and hand wave it in fucking Kingdom Hearts 3, like, oh, it's because of that. Like, no, you fucked up and you don't want to admit it.
Because I think Ben's passionate about this particular subject. What do you guys think?
It's where so many of the retcons come right. It's because they establish the thing that annoys me. They establish a system and they establish the rules of the world, and then they break those rules with no reasoning and then have to try and fix it later when they're like, oh, but actually this. And it feels, and that's why there's so many things that feel like they've been made up on the spot, or they feel rushed, or they feel like plot holes, because it's like, if you had just stuck to what you had established and then expanded, you wouldn't have this issue. But you just went ham and didn't explain anything. And then when you've had to go back and explain yourself, it sounds like you're bullshitting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's... Now, before we move on to 358 over 2, because we do need to touch on it for two important reasons. Well, three important reasons. We do have to give Kingdom Hearts 2 a proper rating. So...
Oh, yeah.
We'll start with you, Brooke. What do you think?
Probably the same as the first one. It's essential, honestly. Like, again, it just explains things from the first game. It touches up on stuff. They make things better from the first, and there's a lot of story stuff as well. So essential.
Yeah,
I agree. I absolutely agree. I think that not only did they do as well of a job as they did with Kingdom Hearts 1, which warrants it being essential, of course. They made a lot of improvements, they made more content, and they made it a better game. And of course, plot-wise, it's very, very important.
Yes, very.
Very important. But yeah, I would also say essential.
Yep, entirely essential. I mean, it's my favorite of the series. As much as I love to bash on it, and I like to bash all the stupid shit in it because the writing is something else. It's a great game. It's essential to the story. It's essential to play. It's a lot of fun. It's better than the first. And I mean, fucking dude, I just love Halloween. So good, man.
Same though. Halloween Town is best.
You know,
It's so good. I love it.
you know. Now, 358/2. So I will go ahead and start by saying this. As a game, it is wholly unnecessary. As a compilation of cutscenes, it's actually pretty good.
So I haven't played the game myself, but I watched cutscenes and friendship and sea salt ice cream is what I got from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very important character development for Axel and Roxas.
Yeah.
Especially Roxas, because Roxas is the whole focus of the game. But again, gameplay wise, it's like I don't remember. Again, I've not played it. I've only watched someone play it, and I don't really remember much about the gameplay because who gives a shit? Like the whole reason, if you're playing 358/2 days, you're playing it because you want the story. You're not playing it because you're like, whoa, I gotta try out this Kingdom Hearts game. It's like you're playing it because you want the rest of Roxas's background story.
Yep.
So, also, Faith, that's mood. Axel is pretty fucking great.
I love Axel so much.
I didn't like him at first, and then he grew on me
Yeah,
fairly
you're not
quickly.
really supposed. I mean, he's a bad guy at first.
So that right there is actually one of the things I wanted to talk about, and why I even gave 358/2 its own spot, is that it quote unquote humanizes some of the quote unquote bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's something that's interesting because the Organization 13's always been a bit of a weird one because they're bad guys, but a lot of them aren't bad guys because they're bad. It's because they've been fucked over by the bad guy.
Right.
And they're being either controlled or manipulated. And the Organization 13 is such a weird one because they have literally nothing to do with the first game. Like, the first game, like, Organization what now? And then Chain of Memories and 2 introduce them properly, and they get given such a huge focus from them point onwards that fucking... Now, you know what's funny? I know so much about these games, and I still can't properly name them all.
Oh, I can't either though.
Because their names are fucking stupid, and I only remember even the ones who are like important to the story. I'm like the one with the pink hair, and people would just be like, "Oh yeah." I think that's Marluxia.
Marluxia, yeah.
I think it's Marluxia. I know that Zigbar is Braig with the scar. Spoilers. Fucking Axel is Lee, and because we'll get to the Recusant Sigil. I will rant about that at the appropriate time. But
I can't wait.
Yeah,
It's my
they've
next
all got
bathroom break.
Stupid fucking names, and so many of them are so. That's my complaint. I think about kind of Kingdom Hearts and the 358/2 days. So many of the Organization 13 members go underdeveloped and don't really get much proper development. They get screen time and they get importance in the plot, but they don't really get developed as characters.
It's so small when you see them in the game, though. It's just a short cutscene. You don't get to see the character really, besides like what, Axel.
Axel, Roxas, Shion, Marluxia kind of. Marluxia has the thing is Marluxia plays a bigger role. I found out in the Union Cross stuff, so the way prequel stuff. But really, and I mean Zigbar has a huge role to play as well because Braig and that. But there's only a couple of them that really matter. Like otherwise, they're just that Organization 13 dude.
Yeah, that one bad guy.
Yeah, that one bad guy, or that one used to be bad guy.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah. So yeah, Marluxia was big in Chain of Memories, like that. Like they were like. So that's the other thing as well with the split between 2 and Chain of Memories, and even 358 over 2 days is like they're all split so much amongst those 3 games that it's like there's some of them you aren't even introduced to properly into, and
Hmm.
like aren't even in the game because they're dealing with the stuff that's happening in Chain of Memories, and it's weird, and I I don't understand.
That's
Oh,
just
what
how
is
it
what
is.
is
Yeah.
You
Endemics
just
and
don't
Luxord are going to
understand.
get development in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross according to the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's face it, out of the fan base, only those that are really dedicated are going to give a shit about Union Cross.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. I'm not gonna even.
Yeah, I will say the one thing for like the organization is some of their fights are stupid hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pisses me off.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool that they're all unique though.
Oh, they are honestly. The
That
fights are
doesn't make them
fun.
fair. But,
No.
but,
Shoot
but
out
they are,
bitches, man.
but they are unique, and that's cool. And that's
Hmm.
yeah. Rather than there just being like one main bad guy that you track across whatever, and then each area has a boss relevant to its area, you have an entire group that you're fighting against, and it really gives space for the game to give you varied boss fights, and I personally think that's really cool.
It is
random
cool.
side note, but can we talk about how Master Xehanort puts together Organization 13 and including himself, 3 of his members are himself?
Yeah,
And how
yeah.
that's totally fucking cheating.
That is.
Like literally,
kinda
there's
dumb.
him, Masters Xehanort, there's Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, who is his nobody, and there's Zemnis, who is his heartless. So, dude, that's cheating. you can't just put yourself in 3 times and be like, oh, there's 13 of us. I promise. And then when they do like the real Organization 13, there's like fucking time traveling fucking Xehanort, and it's like, boy, stop grasping at straws and just find new people. Make some friends.
Some serious trust issues right there.
I mean, well, that's his whole thing. That's what Norting is. That's when he puts a little bit of him inside people to control them and manipulate them.
Mhm.
And that's how recusant sigil. And it's stupid. It's like, bro, why are you forcing people? Why don't you just find the people that want to be on your side? Oh, wait, the only people who want to be on your side is yourself. That's why. That's why you have like 5 million iterations of yourself on your team. Like, it's like playing Pokemon and being like, I'm gonna have 5 Charizards.
Hell yeah.
It's like, sure, it's badass, but like, come on, mix it up a bit. Find something new. Get over it, Ash, and your Pikachu fetish.
Well, that's not where I thought this was going.
It went in
Hey,
a
yeah.
lot of directions.
Yeah, 327,206,503 days over 2 seconds.
Yep, that's how long that conversation went. Thank you, Ben. So
Roxas is a good boy.
yeah, so I mentioned that it humanizes some of the bad guys to show you that they're not really bad, but it
Mhm.
also has the opposite effect that it shows you who the real bad guys are and just how bad they are.
Yeah,
It shows you that disconnect. Yeah.
The writer, the true villain.
You know what I mean. But yeah, it gets, you could say it gets emotional. Which
yeah.
is always a sign of a good game in my opinion. It means that, and I dread to say this out loud when we're talking about Kingdom Hearts, but that shows that it's written well.
Mm-hmm.
Even though overall stuff, but I think that as a game it's wholly unnecessary, but it tells a good story. and it gives depth to characters that very much needed it. And so it's weird for me to say, but while I would say that as a game it's not necessary at all, I would say it's essential as a plot device. More so even than Chain of Memories, in my opinion. Just because of the depth of character that it gives.
Well, yeah, just the whole storytelling is just really good for that one. Because even though I haven't played the game myself, I would also consider it essential from watching the cutscenes and stuff because it really gives a new light on characters you haven't really seen or know much about.
It's another big reason why I wanted to change the ha no to the ha yeah, but watch the cutscenes, because this is another example of the game itself, gameplay wise, it's nothing to write home about. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But story wise, it adds so much. It gives so much context to things that happen later in the series or later in the timeline, I guess, that it explains a lot, especially Shion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Shion is so important to the story, and so much of Shion's character development and who Shion is, and you learn like everything about Shion in 3 over 2 days.
Yep.
And their relationship with Roxas and Axel, and their relationship to Sora, and you that's where you find out that Shion is a replica of Sora, created from the memories that Naminé stole and Chain of Memories as a failsafe in case Roxas didn't want to join Organization 13, and in case, so then they end up manipulating Shion into attacking Roxas because Roxas isn't going along with their plan, so they need to take out Roxas so that Sora can never get his memory back that have been put into Roxas, but Shion turns out to be a good guy and then lets herself be absorbed so that Sora can get the memories back from Chain of Memories, but then Roxas is like, I don't want to go and be put... Organization 13 just have a simple fucking plan. He's a child, kill him. Use a gun. Use a gun blade. Get Squall, name him Squall proper. You know what? Retcon it. Make Leon Squall's nobody. And make it so the Squall comes and just shoots Sora in the face, and boom, all the problems are done.
Oh my god, Ben's gonna have a heart attack just getting stressed out over here.
I see smoke coming out of your left ear, Ben. I think you might need to slow down a little bit.
He needs a minute.
They don't. Their plan. How is he Master Xehanort? He's a fucking idiot.
Hey, Ben, I'm going to need you to repeat after me. One big breath in. And one breath out.
Deep breath.
Okay.
He like turns into a What kind of attack is that?
Oh, Ben.
Oh, God.
Ben better stop, which is BBS, which is Birth by Sleep. So Kingdom Hearts, Birth by Sleep.
My favorite.
I mean, we've missed a few, but that's fine.
Yeah, so it's what? Okay, Ben, what did we miss?
There isn't Dream Drop Distance.
Nope.
Oh no, that's after.
It's after.
I mean, let's have a 10-hour conversation about Kingdom Hearts Coded.
Let's not. Let's talk about Birth by Sleep, the best Kingdom Hearts game.
Yes, the best one. The best girl.
And we're gonna start by talking about the one of the most important parts of the Aqua. So let's talk about Aqua for a minute.
Yes, Aqua's best girl. She's like the mom of the group. Like she's just taking care of everyone's shit, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aqua is best girl.
She really is. Because, like, I'm just going to say this now. Frickin' what's his fucking face? Tara is a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Fucking moron.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Like, legitimately brain dead, dude. I'm sorry. I really don't like him. I really don't like
Master
him.
Ericus.
Seriously. I hate Tara.
Master Ericus.
Tara so
No
much.
wonder you got fucking taken over by Xehanort, you dumbass.
Seriously,
That's how dumb Terra is. Terra is so fucking stupid that Master Xehanort, who is known for being a moron with his stupid plans, was able to fucking trick Terra and be like, "Oh, I'm a good guy." He's literally hunched over and has yellow evil eyes.
Seriously,
He looks evil.
old evil man, dude. Like, watch out.
Everything about him screams, "I'm evil!" And he's like, "Oh, you seem nice. I'm gonna kill the only person that's ever been nice to me."
Seriously, though.
Fucking
Yeah, so
poor Aqua.
Terra is
Very-
like God. Terra's like
Terrible.
yeah.
Stupid.
Terra makes me feel angry. Ventus
Yeah.
makes me feel sorry for him.
Yes.
And because it's so sad. Everything there is just sad. And Aqua makes me feel other emotions, but like Aqua's just great. Happy. Yes, that one. The one I was thinking of also started with an H, but we're gonna go with happy. Because Aqua's great. Because Aqua is like the brains of the group that tries to make Terra not be an idiot. She fails at it, but I mean, it's an impossible job.
She
So.
tries. You can't help that man. He can't even help himself, dude.
Yeah, and that's a third of the game. Him unable to help himself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Stupid Terra.
But I think it would be good to talk about the gameplay changes between 1 and 2 to Birth by Sleep, because Birth by Sleep is very different. You play as 3 different protagonists throughout the game.
Which makes it very unique, honestly, because each one of them have their own path and stuff, and it's really interesting to see all 3 of them go on their own separate journey. Because I believe you had to play it in a specific order, right? Like you had to play Ventus, Terra, and then Aqua, I believe.
Maybe? I can't remember that
I
part.
think there's an order you had to play the routes on. But yeah, they did such a phenomenal job. I really loved the battle mechanics. Like honestly, my favorite thing was just playing as Aqua and using magic, because I usually as a player I usually just go just with a sword and just like go in, hack and slash it.
Same,
But with Aqua, I actually really utilized the magic and stuff, and it was honestly really fun. I really did enjoy it.
I can't remember what they're called, but like as you use particular types of attacks, you end up using whatever it is that thing that triggers that. Like with Aqua, you know how you have like the Spell Weaver. I cannot remember what those are called, but yeah, but those they adjust to your playstyle. But it has the opposite effect as well. It incentivizes you to change the way you play just to see what cool shit you can do. And I think that's the most incentive any of the other Kingdom Hearts games have had for you to try out different methods of play. Because in the other Kingdom Hearts games, once you kind of know what you want, you play that way. But in Birth by Sleep, it's like, I'm going to play this way and see what happens. Okay, now I'm going to play this way and see what happens. And it's just, it keeps the game constantly feeling fresh. And I think that the game benefits immensely from that.
That's honestly why I consider it one of the best ones, because it just gives you so much variety and there's so much, uniqueness to the game as well.
Yep.
Okay, how about that break boss fight?
Don't remind me, please. It's so fucking hard, that fight.
How about that break? Fucking tournament of Zigbar.
I'm gonna ignore you. So new worlds in Birth by Sleep that we hadn't seen yet. I don't remember which ones were new because it's been a while since I played. But
let's see. Keyblade Graveyard.
Oh
yeah,
that plays.
That plays.
That plays.
Very strongly linked to Union Cross. Was the Land of... Is that the first game the Land of Departure appears in? I think it is.
Yes.
Because then it's at the... Is it the end of Birth by Sleep it gets turned into Castle Oblivion?
I remember what happens. I just don't remember which game it happens.
I don't remember if that's Birth by Sleep or if that's
I think it's Birth by Sleep. I think it's
Because
at the end.
because
end.
that's at the end because Ventus is sleepy and
Yeah.
Aqua's
Yeah.
like
So,
with her
so
keyblade.
what happened was, when he was in that coma, Aqua locked him in the land of departure,
And then turned into
and it turned into Castle Oblivion. So yeah, so while he sleeps, he is in Castle Oblivion. So
Dude, Ventus has such a fucking rough time of it.
Yeah.
seriously though, I feel so bad for him.
Right. You know, I only found this out recently. You know that there's an actual written reason why Vanitas looks like Sora?
Why?
Because strap in.
Oh.
All right.
So when Xehanort took the darkness from Ventus's heart and created Vanitas,
Okay.
creates Vanitas, and then Ventus gets sent to Destiny Island with his fractured heart with all the darkness ripped out of it, and because his heart is fractured, baby Sora, unbeknownst to himself, connects his heart to Ventus's and repairs Ventus's heart. And when he repairs Ventus's heart, the bit that he fills is where Ventus's heart had his darkness, and because Sora's heart repairs Ventus's heart where the darkness was, the darkness that was replaced takes the form of Sora. And it's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I didn't retain any of that.
Yeah,
It's so stupid.
Yeah, it's something. It's a bit of a mess.
It's so dumb. It's literally like, hey, we made Vanitas out of Ventus, which, why are their names so similar? Why do you hate Azumura? And then throw Ventus away, he lands on Destiny Islands, baby Sora's like, bah, 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 and accidentally
Exactly like
links his
that.
heart with Ventus. And because he links his heart with Ventus, Vanitas, who's made of the darkness from Ventus's heart, is like, I'm gonna look like Sora now. I just it was meant to be a game about Disney Worlds, man.
Poor man.
I just wanted to hang out with Jack Skellington.
Was Lol and Shit's first appearance in Birth by Sleep, or Lilo and Stitch, if you actually like it for some reason?
Maybe, I don't fucking know. Probably.
I'm not sure actually. Oh yeah, Deep Space. there's
Definitely
Deep-
wasn't in 2.
No, I think this is the first appearance Lilo and Stitch is in Birth by Sleep. I think.
That's interesting. It is good to see new worlds, even though Birth by Sleep is a prequel.
Yeah.
Complicated.
Well, it is. It's a prequel. It's set before most of the events of the other Kingdom Hearts games.
Yeah.
The only one that's really before it is Union Cross.
Oh yeah, Woodlands is new too. The Snow White.
Oh, is it?
That was new.
Oh, I suppose with the whole Snow White being, because Snow White was in the games, but her world wasn't.
Right. She was one of the princesses of Sharts or whatever.
Yeah, which I love. Again, love how Xehanort just ditches that fucking plan. He's.
What about Disney Town? Is that new? Disney Town?
Oh, the mini game place?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was actually.
Mhm.
And do you know what you can actually get in Disney Town?
What?
Ice cream.
Hey, bro, you want some ice cream?
Fuck no.
that was
She
quite the
said
death glare.
I said thing, yay.
Poor ice cream. Oh.
Ice cream.
So, do you think that Birth by Sleep did a good job at filling plot holes or creating even more plot holes?
Even more.
Look at
be honest.
Ben.
Is that a real question? Is
Look,
that a real question?
okay, I had like 10 minutes to write down these questions, and that's what I put down, so that's what you're gonna answer. Ben.
My God. Birth by Sleep caused so many problems. Look, not only does Birth by Sleep have plot holes within its own game, but it then ripples out and causes problems for the rest of the series because of all of the implications.
Especially the end. I'm just getting riled up.
Walk away. You're
Oh no. So yeah, Birth by Sleep. It's a pretty good game.
It's honestly fantastic. It's one of my favorites, but I will say it does open the floodgates of many more questions.
Yeah. If Kingdom Hearts 2 is where it started to get convoluted, Birth by Sleep is where it really hit its stride, so to speak.
Really?
Yeah.
Honestly.
It was salvageable. By the end of Kingdom Hearts 2, you're like, this is salvageable. And then Birth by Sleep happens, and you're like, oh,
Oh.
this is where we're going. Okay. It's like, so they were digging a hole, and then they kept digging, and they hit a point where like the ground got hard, and someone threw them a ladder and was like, okay, now's your chance to climb out. And you more looked up, looked them in the eye, took the ladder, and started digging with the ladder. And they were like, no, Emer, no. And he was like, "Ah!" And he's like, I'll stop when I'm dead. And that's how Venice was born.
And that still makes more sense than what
Yeah.
actually happened in the game.
It's true.
Seriously though.
It's true. No
Oh.
lies. I'm not okay.
Can I
Seriously,
can I get some
broken
F's in chat, please, for Ben's sanity?
Yes, please.
Oh.
Love that.
You did this to me. You started with Halo, and I'm so passionate about Halo. And then I did research on Dark Souls, and I fell in that rabbit hole. Look, Halo, Dark Souls, and Kingdom Hearts. You've given me 3 series with extensive expanded universes to research, and my mind is falling to pieces.
I just picture, right? Like you and I in the Halo episode, right? And we're just having a good time, and then after the episode's over, I'm like, hey, let's do Dark Souls. And I kick you down a well, right? And then you've slowly clawed your way
like,
up, and you get to
climbed
the
up.
top, right? Like your fingers have just like grabbed the cusp of coming out of that well, and I'm like, Kingdom Hearts, bitch. And then I just like step on your hands, and you fall back down.
No, what happens is you kick me down the well, and then I slowly start climbing up. I get like 7/8 of the way up, and you reach down, and you help me, and as I'm about like nearly out of the well, you lean in and whisper, Yomura sends his regards, and throw me back down.
Omewa.
Oh,
It's funny because that sounds like something I would do.
yeah, it does.
So as convoluted as it is, I have to give Birth by Sleep a necessary or essential. I can't even remember my own shit. That's how much my brain has been fried by Ben.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's
Hulmick's
great.
wearing off
It's
on me.
definitely essential for 2 reasons. 1, fantastic game to play. And 2, if you are a fool like I, and you care about this game's story, then it's definitely essential because you got research to do, bitch. So get playing.
Yeah, I
It's like
definitely say it's essential, 110%. As much as questions there is towards the end of the game, it is essential,
Yeah.
110%.
Yeah, and they totally get answered. So next is Dream Drop Distance, and
This may be the one I know least about.
yeah, so
I don't know much about either.
here's the problem with Dream
start.
Drop Distance. Okay, I was writing down questions for this to like keep everything on track. Like for Kingdom Hearts 1, I wrote down proof of concept, basic combat, atmosphere, recognizable Disney characters. For Kingdom Hearts 2, I wrote down gameplay changes, new worlds, old worlds with improvements, the tutorial starting to get convoluted. Do you know what I wrote down for Dream Drop Distance?
Yes.
What is happening? That's literally all I wrote. I didn't write
happening?
anything else. Just what is
Okay,
happening?
So about Dream Drop Distance, Why is Yensid such a prick?
Well,
Why all of a sudden, there's so many. So when you start in Kingdom Hearts 1, you get your Keyblade. And you get your Keyblade, and you're like, whoa, it's so fucking cool. And then Riku takes it. Riku's like, there could only be one Keyblade wielder, and it's me, because I'm badass. That's gone. That was a lie. Which I don't blame Riku. He didn't really know what was going on. Yensid makes up some arbitrary bullshit. Yes, mark of mastery. And although Aqua and Terra have had nowhere near as much of trouble passing the mark of mastery, fucking Sora and Riku have got this fucking ball-busting hard trial bullshit. And they're just like, hey, go be Keyblade, but no, you're not good enough to be a Keyblade wielder. It's not like you've been doing it for the past 15 iterations of this game. It's not like you've been kicking ass and learning how to use Keyblade. No, you're not a Keyblade master. Fuck you. Go do more. Do more for me. I'm fucking Disney, bitch. You
I'm
work for
fucking
me.
Disney, bitch.
I'm fucking Disney, bitch. You work for me. Go shell our properties. Go back to those Disney worlds. Go fix those Disney worlds, bitch. You need to wake up, fucking Ventus. Go wake them up. And then they don't even do a Sleeping Beauty world because Power of Waking, or was that later? My brain's was that later? The Power of Waking. Was that Dream Drop Distance or was that 3?
He's losing his mind.
I am. I'm losing it, man. I'm legitimately forgetting.
It's Dream Drop Distance.
Okay, yeah. Power of Waking is Dream Drop Distance because, and they have a perfect opportunity to be like, oh, Power of Waking, we could make Sleeping Beauty world, haha, Power of Waking, and they don't. So that's a missed opportunity. And then the fucking he tries to wake up Ventus, and then he oh no, you don't have the power of waking. And then Ventus shows up, and it's like, JK, he does. They have a whole opportunity to make the Disney worlds actually relevant and actually matter and actually have him learn the power of waking through the Disney worlds, and he doesn't. It just happens. He's, oh, I know how to do this now. And then Ventus wakes up and is like, fuck you, Ventus. You look too much like Sora for bullshit reasons. I'm gonna kick your ass. And I'm awake now. And I look like Roxas.
See, I would follow that way better if you were like narrating the fucking story.
I just can't stop thinking of Yensid just going, I'm Disney, bitch.
I'm
Disney.
And then Mickey Mouse comes in and he's like, you better get out there and make me some goddamn money.
There's a reason belts are in, huh? This belt will be in your ass and you don't start shelling frozen, huh?
Oh my god.
So yeah, that's the rough plot of Dream Drop Distance.
Perfect.
The Disney landlord of your intellectual property, bitch.
So I guess we have to talk about 0.2 Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage. That is a legitimate thing that is in 2.8 final chapter prologue.
Before we do, I need to round up a Dream Drop Distance a little bit more.
Oh, okay. I'm taking a nap.
Because Dream Drop Distance introduces properly the idea of the Keyblade. You heard me, the Keyblade, not the Keyblade as in the fucking Keyblade. The Keyblade is in the Greek letter key. Fucking stupid. And who'd not just call it the X-Blade? Call it, or the Crossblade. It's called Union Cross now. Call it the Crossblade. Don't call it the Keyblade, because all it does is confuse people. Why do you insist on confusing us? And the whole point is fucking Ventus and Ventus fucking touch tips and then fucking accidentally forge the Keyblade, the key not Keyblade, and then it shatters. And then they're like, oh, we need the fragments. And then Xehanort's like, oh, well, I need 13 bad boy fragments and fucking 7 good boy fragments. And the good boy fragments are going to be the princesses of heart, and then he just decides it failed once. Well, we'll never try that again, even though we've changed who the princesses of heart are to match our marketing technique. And then and there's a fine. I'll just make all the Keyblade wielder, like the good guys, part of my plan. And the Keyblade wielders are like, okay. Fight them. If they don't show up to the fight, what's going to happen? They can't summon the Keyblade without them. Why are they gathering Keyblade wielders? And he's like, oh, if they don't stop him, he'll just do the Princess of Heart thing again. It's like, then why isn't he? He's not. Okay.
Didn't you say you didn't play this one?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Oh,
I
God.
played this game. It was on a whole fucking hour-long tangent about it.
Oh, poor Ben.
Yeah, and they call it the real Organization 13. They
Which
call
is
it
the
real
stupidest name
Organization
I've ever
13.
heard.
Oh, because the last one was fake. You had three of yourself in the last one, but this one's the fake one. The fucking. How the fuck did Master Ericus lose to this guy? Master Ericus, bro. How? How are these people masters? Masters of what? They're not Keyblade masters. Tell me, name one time that you see Master Ericus use a fucking Keyblade that's worthwhile. What's he a master of? The fuck is he a master of?
Losing.
He's a master of getting killed. Who gets killed by Terra? Who
Right?
gets killed by Terra? Like, you couldn't even fucking stop yourself being killed by Terra, who was so easily manipulated.
You could have been like, hey, bro, I'm not the bad guy here. Don't fight me. Be like,
He's like, dude, maybe the super evil dude with the evil orange eyes that's clearly manipulating everybody and is trying to use your best friend as a means to summon a horribly powerful weapon to destroy everything is the bad guy. But no, the guy that's training you that was mean to your friend needs to die.
yes.
And you wonder why you got norted.
Such a weird verb to me.
Norted.
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 Ah.
Oh,
You-
Are you good, Ben?
Do you
you let
feel
it all
better?
out?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think if there's anything else.
I think we're
Anymore?
good, Ben. Calm
Look,
down.
Dream
Brett,
of
Ben,
distance.
that's enough.
It raises so many problems.
I'd like to rate Dream Drop Distance optional
We haven't even spoken about Ansem the Wise.
optional, but you should watch the
Right.
cutscenes. That's what I'm
Okay,
gonna give
yeah.
Dream Drop
Right.
Distance.
Same.
Chat, tell me, please tell me. Ansem the Wise, the guy he likes fucking research and making friends and lovely and hearts and stuff. Cool. He gets fucking fucked up, and then why does Xehanort's why does this Heartless decide to call himself Ansem? Why? Do you know why? Because he fucking hates us and he wants it to be as confusing as possible. So that when you're like, Ansem, yeah, but the wise one, not the darkness one that's like part of Riku's heart, and that's why he kind of looks like him in this game, but then he doesn't in the other, and he phases between them. Because he hates us. And he wants us to suffer. Anyway.
3 hours later.
So yeah.
Oh,
Especially the fragmentary
no.
passage.
Yeah, passage just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Dream Drop Distance.
Oh fuck.
Don't play it. Just watch the cutscene.
Just watch the
You know
cutscenes.
what? You know what? Do watch the cutscenes, but like only if you hate yourself. Like, you know what? No, I take that back. If you have gotten to the point, if you have gotten to the point where you have all the story up until Dream Drop Distance, if you've gotten to that point, you already hate yourself. You already hate yourself, and you're already down the rabbit hole. Don't stop now. Now is the time to dig deeper and hate yourself. Now is the time for supreme hate yourself. We've not even got to Kingdom Hearts 3 yet. It's fine.
Yeah, well, before we can get to 3, we have to talk about a fragmentary passage.
Yeah.
I haven't played that one either.
So all you really need to know about it is they made Aqua's
Aqua.
eyes look awesome,
Oh,
and that's it. That's all you got.
I mean, it's basically bridging between Dream Resistance and Kingdom Hearts 3. It's just Aqua in Darkness Bad Place.
And cosplay.
And she has to fight Emo Aqua. The fuck do they call her again? Phantom Aqua, I think.
Phantom of the Aqua.
Phantom of the Aqua. Oh my god, that's amazing. The Phantom of the Aqua is there.
That's the
inside your mind. Oh yeah, it also acts as a really super convenient way for them to explain how they can get their prequel characters into the modern game, because time passes differently in the Dark Realm. Does it? Does it really?
and is unimpressed.
Does it really? Is it just because you know that Terra's gonna be there because he's been Norted and Terra Nort is a thing, and you know that Ventus is gonna be there because he's been sleeping and he's just been woken up, and now everything's back there, and because Aqua has no reasonable reason to actually be back there, she's been stuck in the realm of darkness for like fucking years, but you know, time passes differently, so she doesn't look any different. Haha, isn't that convenient?
There you go.
Okay.
Right, so Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's
it is absolutely gorgeous. It is an impressive technical achievement as far as graphics are concerned. Which leads me to my first question about the game, and I'm going to direct this at you first, Brooke.
Okay.
Was it worth the wait?
Yes, actually. So I will say, if you were waiting for a very long time for the story, I would say no. But for the gameplay and the experience itself, it was well worth the wait. I really, 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 really liked the worlds that they did. It's absolutely gorgeous. The gameplay is fun. The battle system's fun. The new characters, the new worlds are great. But story, I didn't really like the story, to be honest. And I haven't played the DLC, so I don't know if they explained everything, but yeah, that's my opinion on it.
What about you, Ben? Are you calm? Can you handle it?
Yeah. So here's the thing about Kingdom Hearts 3. I have not personally managed to get my hands on it and play it, which is a shame because I really, really want to. I have watched Brooke play it, and I really, really want to play it because it looks fantastic visually. It looks like the gameplay is super fun, and I really want to get into it. And I want to get a chance to actually play through it. I know for a fact that none of us here have played the DLC, and
Correct.
I know that, as far as I'm aware, because I know that I don't know any of the story from the DLC. So I'm going to ask if chat can be nice and not spoil anything from the DLC of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yes, please.
Because I know that we don't know anything about it. So no DLC spoilers in chat. Let's keep an eye on that. But from a gameplay standpoint, it makes me very excited because as somebody who loves Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, it looks like that would be fantastic.
I think that as a video game, 3 is the best.
Yes.
But as an overall experience, it's not.
Yes. I would agree on that. 100%. Again, story was lacking, but gameplay was great. So
yeah. Which actually leads to the next question. What did they do right? And what did they do wrong? Because I feel like that's important.
I might need a minute on that one while I think. So
I'll start by saying I think some of the stuff that it did right was understanding the difference that they had technologically between the stuff they had done up to this point and what they had to work with now. They had so much more power to work with, so much more detail they could add to the game as a whole, and it definitely benefits from that, in my opinion. I think that some of the pacing isn't great. I
Yeah.
think that some of the story choices are kind of dumb. And
Yes.
I know that this is a common complaint, but I really hate that most of the Final Fantasy stuff just isn't there. That was
It
like,
really isn't. though.
yeah, it's like 50% of Kingdom Hearts is supposed to be Final Fantasy.
Mhm.
So many of the games up to this point, you've seen so much Final Fantasy stuff, and then here it's just practically non-existent, and it feels so gross to me.
What
Mhm.
14 I mean not 14. What Final Fantasy characters did appear in that one? I don't remember.
In 3,
Yeah, I agree. Hmm.
I don't even remember.
Moogle,
Moogles.
that's it?
Is that literally it?
Seriously? Just the damn Moogles?
Of all the things.
Okay.
Ugh.
That's really weird considering, like, as you mentioned, like, they were apparent in the other games, so why didn't they add them to the new one? I
Yeah.
don't know.
And that was kind of heartbreaking because there were so many things teased, and of course this would be the one thing I focus on with Squall and teasing Renoa, which is his girlfriend in Final Fantasy VIII.
Mhm.
That is teased so hard, and then you get nothing in Kingdom Hearts 3, and it was just the biggest blue ball experience like of that year for me. Like, just makes me angry.
Mhm. Good stuff.
But yeah, I will say another common criticism I hear of Kingdom Hearts 3 is that the game is too easy.
Yes. So I believe it's proud mode, right? Like, not the hardest mode because that came with the DLC. But
Yeah.
I chose the hardest difficulty because I don't think we touched up on this, but the Kingdom Hearts series in general is pretty difficult on its own. So I decided to like challenge myself and do proud mode, I believe, on Kingdom Hearts 3 before
Mhm.
the DLC to, see how it was like. And it was really easy. I went through it, I didn't die at all, actually. I did really well. And I was like, this is proud mode? What? And people are like, no, they just like dumbed it down. Like it's not even that hard. So it was a little bit disappointing in the difficulty of that game.
And this is pure speculation. I have nothing to back this up, but I feel like the game being too easy and them not putting in any Final Fantasy characters might stem from the same source, and that's that they wanted the game to be more accessible to a new audience, but they did it in the worst way possible. And that's that they took out anything they thought that new people wouldn't understand from a
Mhm.
non-plot point. Oh, they might not recognize these characters, so blah 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 blah. And they maybe didn't play other Kingdom Hearts games, so we need to make it easy for them, blah blah blah. But yet the plot is still convoluted, so
Mhm.
I don't know. It feels kind of off to me. But
Yeah, because like they're known for their difficulty and stuff. So like it
mhm,
didn't feel like a full completed Kingdom Hearts game, I feel.
yeah, yeah. I just there was so much cool stuff. Like one thing I will say, combat wise, those moves you get where you use like Disney Disney World rides and shit.
Oh, I don't like that. I thought it was I hated it.
So
I mean it looked cool. But
at first I loved it because it was
yeah.
super damaging and it looked super cool. And then after like the third time, I was like, all right, this is dumb.
Because the first time you use those is against the Titans, right? I think.
I
And
believe so. Yeah, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah, I
it,
think
it
it's
was
up a
really
mountain.
cool. But after that I was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, it just there was so many cool concepts that they came up with for 3 that they implemented that were cool, but they felt out of place.
Mhm.
And I feel like I can say that about a lot of things in that game. Cool, but out of place.
Yeah,
It-
I would agree on that.
It's like it's a gorgeous game and it is a technical achievement, but it doesn't quite feel like a Kingdom Hearts game, if that makes sense.
No, I agree on that, honestly, because they're missing core elements that make it a Kingdom Hearts game,
Mhm.
and it feels a little bit empty. But yeah, I still enjoyed it. It was still fun. I'm still excited to play the DLC whenever, but yeah, it's definitely a lackluster for me, story wise at least.
Taking selfies is stupid. All right, I said it. I don't know, just like, oh, I gotta
Goddamn.
find these things in the world, take a selfie or whatever. I'm like, oh god, please stop with this shit. Oh, Even
Wasn't
Wind
there-
Waker HD did that. Hey, you can take a selfie now. I don't care.
Wasn't there like secret ingredients too?
Ugh. I've heard horror stories about that.
Yeah, the lucky emblems. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Reverse some ingredients. Fuck up. Makes me a little angry.
And
just a
also,
little.
the AI in Kingdom Hearts 3 is amazing. I actually got healed, which is something I am not familiar with. I've been playing all these Kingdom Hearts games where Donald doesn't fucking heal me because he's a useless healer, anyways. So Kingdom Hearts 3, he actually healed me. It was great. I was like, "What is this? What? Good AI?"
Why? What have you done with Donald?
2 dittos have replaced your party members, and they just assumed that your party members knew what they were doing, so they're trying their best.
Jacob, clearly if you pay attention then you would realize that it's Donald and Goofy's nobodies because their hearts got split. I bet you there's one out there. There's a theory out there that has it. I bet you. People will come up with any bullshit to justify the changes in these games. The idea of because the developers did it is not good enough for these people.
Yeah, can of worms.
It's like
can of worms.
I think that was obviously not having played it. I can't speak to how they play, but at least visually, when it comes to like the idea of like the Disney park rides and the worlds and stuff, I feel like it feels like there was a lot in this game that felt a little too markety. It felt like Disney had gotten their hands in it more, and it felt like the creative direction was very marketability driven rather than creative driven compared to previous games.
I would agree with that.
Not to an extreme to the point where it's like awful or anything, but it definitely feels like, for instance, a big pushing point for this was, oh my god, look, Frozen's in Kingdom Hearts. And
Oh yeah, that was a whole thing.
that was like a whole thing, and like the rides are all very Disneyland, which is very it felt very much like they were a little too on the nose about that kind of stuff when it came to the ride summons and stuff. That probably it felt a little disingenuous.
Yeah.
Compared to how it was before.
Yeah, I get that 100%.
Yeah. So, I think we kind of already said it, but I had it written down, so I just want to say it. Is the plot payoff worth it? And obviously, no. I don't think that as a series closer, like they wanted it to be, I don't think that that the payoff is worth the wait. Now, of course, that's coming from somebody that hasn't played the DLC. I don't know if maybe the DLC helps with that, but without the DLC, I say that no, it was not. The payoff is not worth it.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Now, that actually...
Nope, I was just gonna say, from what I know, obviously I don't know anything about the DLC either, but from what I know and what I can remember right now of the Kingdom Hearts, put it this way, I haven't even played Dream Drop Distance, and I have clearly a lot of pent up emotions about that game. I've watched Kingdom Hearts 3 start to finish, and it hasn't even really made that much of an impression on me. I feel like it felt kind of, you know, like they've done so much crazy shit, and I was like, well, sure, of course this happens. Like, I don't know. I think I'll need to give it another visit and also look at what happens in the DLC. But at least from current memory, it feels like the story from 3 was a bit of a letdown, which I also feel bad because they've obviously had so much hype to live up to. I feel like it's the Half-Life 3 syndrome of no matter what they made and no matter what they came out with, it was never going to live up to the hype that was, oh my god, it's Kingdom Hearts 3.
Right, yeah.
But I also still feel like even with expectations curbed, it was still kind of lackluster, which I'm hoping maybe the DLC will fix.
Yeah, I need to play the DLC.
Yeah, which, speaking of the DLC, you know, there's not really a lot we can talk about since we haven't played it, but it makes me wonder, where do we go from here as a series? It had little hint drops at near the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 as to what the hell was going on. I didn't comprehend any of it because I was tired because I had played it all I played it at launch and it was a very long, exhausting game. So I don't really remember a lot of those fine details, but I just wonder what the next Kingdom Hearts game is going to be. Is it going to be some kind of weird spin-off? Is it going to be unrelated characters? Is it going to be Kingdom Hearts 4? Like, they're not just going to let Kingdom Hearts die. So they're going to do something. But what?
Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories 2, now with more cards.
Except now you have to buy packs of cards at the store and scan them in.
Oh my god, Kingdom Hearts Skylanders, don't give them ideas.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah. Skylanders are fine as long as you call them amiibos.
Look, right, the fucking, what was it called? Disney Infinity?
Oh no.
I'm waiting for a Kingdom Hearts Disney Infinity thing.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a spin-off first, I think, before they move into a main game.
I think it'll be a very long time before Kingdom Hearts 4 is the thing.
Because like how long did they take to develop 3? Quite a while.
My lifespan.
Apparently.
Since Eyes is being mean to me in chat, I just want to show you guys something. I got a box in the mail today, and it had a little drawing in it. And I just want you guys to see it. If you're currently listening, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Podbean, fuck you. So
catch it live, get all these exclusive benefits.
Yeah,
that's such a cute drawing.
Yeah, it's adorable.
Yeah, Eyes.
Aww.
Hell yeah, Eyes.
Eyes sent me some various Asian foods in a box, like a care package, and that was as soon as I opened it, it was right there, and I was like, I love it. It's adorable.
I love it. So good. Heck yeah.
So yeah, Kingdom Hearts is great, and I do love the series. I don't love all the games, but as a whole, I love the series, and I want more. Yeah. I want to see more stuff. 3 being kind of meh with regards to plot doesn't put me off of the series or anything, and I want more. I want to see what they can do, but I would prefer that they tie off some threads before they make more.
I think I have a mixture of, I love the series. The story is, I'm invested at this point. It's the sunken cost fallacy of, I've put so much time into this series now that I gotta see where it goes. I'm curious to see how they're gonna dig themselves out of so many of these messes. Let's see what they come up with. And I want to see where they take it, because I know they've got a lot of potential there, because they've made a lot of good games. And they know how to make good games. They have a very unique formula. I think I'd like to see them explore the Final Fantasy side more.
Yeah.
I understand that they've started, well, I say started, they've quite firmly established their own universe, kind of, with the idea of kind of like Radiant Gardens and stuff like that, and Castle Oblivion and stuff like that. But I'd like to see them maybe explore some Final Fantasy worlds. It might be cool to see, like, I mean, could you imagine a Kingdom Hearts game with Midgar?
Especially now that we have the 7 remake.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that would be dope. And 7's a huge game, and everyone loves Final Fantasy 7, and it would make sense considering it's so linked to the Final Fantasy series. And even to just like explore that side more. Like, could you imagine a fucking Magitech summon in Kingdom Hearts? How dope that would be! Like a Magitech Keyblade.
That would be so
cool.
I
feel like there's a lot
slot materia in your Keyblade.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of potential there that went unexplored, and I hope that the lack of Final Fantasy content in 3 isn't a precedent for the future. I hope that they do continue to keep that kind of link to its roots and develop it in that direction. I don't know how difficult that will be licensing wise. I don't know. But then again, at the end of the day, it's a Squeenix game using Squeenix properties. So how bad can it be?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they can get Disney to agree to stuff, I'm sure that they can get the other studios within Squeenix that work on Final Fantasy games to agree to stuff.
Yeah. For me, with the Kingdom Hearts series, for me, it's not really about the story for me because like it's already so hard to follow. So for me, it's more of the worlds, the character interactions, the gameplay, the battle system. So that's what's important to me to see the different worlds and see what they do with it. So I'm excited for the next Kingdom Hearts game, but something that I would like for them to do is kind of sit down and kind of like actually have a solidified story. I don't know. It's just like it's so messy at this point. Like I think they need to like not scrap it, but like really rework it and like,
Mm.
make it a
I
little bit
feel
more coherent.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be a dangerous game to play. But one of two things they could do. I'd like to see them get everything sorted. I feel like even if it was something like a bit redundant or a little bit not great, when I say not great, something more like, I don't know, even if it was like literally like a book, like a novel, or like something, just something that was, even if it was just a big text bulb or like a fucking 0.2 fragmentary passage-esque game that just wrapped everything up for that side of things. I would almost, again, dangerous game to play knowing how they've taken this in the past, but like a new set of characters. Like a
Mm.
new, maybe set it way in the future or way in the past, or one of the two, and just take a new set of characters, take a new villain, take a new everything, and start with a clean slate in the same universe, and take the basics of what they've established and work with that rather than trying to run themselves in circles justifying what's happened with the characters already. And just look, and also interestingly with combat, I just a quick question that I want to throw out there. Have you both played Final Fantasy VII Remake?
Yes.
I've only played the beginning of it.
But you've at least a little bit to get a feel of the gameplay.
Yes.
As someone who's not played it, how do you think the gameplay compares to something like Kingdom Hearts? How would you compare Kingdom Hearts and FF7R? Because visually, not all, but some of the gameplay looks like they have similarities. And I think it would be interesting to think about whether or not Final Fantasy remakes in the future go more down a Kingdom Hearts route, or perhaps Kingdom Hearts go down more of a Final Fantasy route in the future, and see if, because at least by looking at it, the idea of a Kingdom Hearts game that played more like FF7R would be really interesting. But I can't speak to that specifically because I've not had my hands on the game.
Hmm.
Yeah, there are similarities to Kingdom Hearts, I would say, honestly.
There is some.
I that's interesting, actually.
Yeah,
to
I'm
think
trying to
about
think
that.
about it too.
Yeah.
It's just like, huh. Like
The idea
where,
of like,
how? Like
the idea of like the live combat, like the real-time combat scenario with the mixture of magic and items, and having your like melee combat and stuff,
real
um
time and
Yeah.
and having that mix is something that they both do in different ways. And the idea of, people were obviously a little disappointed with how Kingdom Hearts 3 turned out gameplay wise, at least with some aspects. And I think it would be interesting if they made a Kingdom Hearts game that was more mechanically geared like FF7R, that was more focused on that kind of instance but real time spellcasting combat and stuff like that. Or maybe even find a blend of the two that focused more on the kind of combo and magic side of things that Kingdom Hearts does, but bring elements of the Final Fantasy system into it.
like a turn-based system or
Not
something.
even quite turn-based, but like in the way that, because Final Fantasy VII are, its battles are instanced. They're not, but like there's a marked difference between going through the world in combat and out combat. Like you have
Yeah.
like the camera change and stuff, and and like it changes. You go from in combat to out combat,
Mhm.
and I feel like that would be interesting to maybe give the Kingdom Hearts game more of an like interconnected feel with, even with like bosses and stuff. If they did that idea where many bosses were a thing that would happen, in that sense of it's a big old boss, but the battle is more focused on the battle than being about the exploration and battle.
Hmm.
One of the things
I'm
that I
still
think,
thinking.
yeah, one of the things I think is important to note though is that with Final Fantasy VII R, you have the ability to not. You can set it to where the game kind of stops while you make your decision.
Right.
Yeah,
So
you can do you can do both. You can
Yeah.
choose to do both, or you can just do real time. You
See,
could just
I
do
didn't know that.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have that option. Like it's not just one or the other. You can do both. You can just do one or the other. So it's just whoever what
Yeah.
gameplay suits you best.
Right.
Um.
Now,
So
giving you that
Yeah.
kind of option in Kingdom Hearts would be interesting, but I
Yeah, I
fear
feel
that
like-
that might make the game too easy, even easier.
That would need a lot of rework.
Yeah.
That would
Mm.
need to be, you would need to change the way that you looked at the game's combat entirely.
hmm
yeah.
Because if you had that ability, then it would change the way you looked at combat, and it would change the fluidity and the idea of the combo stuff that you have in Kingdom Hearts,
Yeah.
which is quite a big staple of the series. I feel like, I don't know. I guess it was just a thought because I'd noticed similarities between them and was like,
Yeah.
I wonder how that would actually work if we were to try and work that into a Kingdom Hearts game. With its ties to the Final Fantasy series, it was just something I thought was interesting.
Yeah. I just don't know if it'll be perceived well because was it turn-based is kind of outdated, I guess. Nowadays, that's why so many people do like real time now.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if they implement something like that like newer players would be interested or engaged in it. So it is a really cool concept. I just don't know if it get received well.
Yeah.
Again, it's totally out there, but it's just something that I'm gonna like throw out, is the idea of like, I like conceptually the idea of, and maybe in a future's Kingdom Hearts game, having the worlds that you visit. Now, it would be an absolute fucking nightmare to program, and they would never do it. But it would be interesting to have different mechanically built like worlds in that sense. So each world you visit either had its own moves or combos that you could do, or like for instance, if you had a Midgar world where the combat was more focused like that and was like turn-based rather than real time, and then you went to like a different world and it was more focused on high combos and how much you could keep your chain going in a row and keep it without dropping your chain and stuff like that, and just building the moves and spells and stuff you have based on the worlds you visit would be a really interesting concept that would be really impossible to implement into a game. And I respect that, but it's just something I think would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I've always found interesting is the combat in the Kingdom Hearts games has always had a high skill ceiling. Like with you have like the Sephiroth boss fight, and that shit's hard. Really, really hard. But I think that's one of the Kingdom Hearts draws, actually, is post-game crazy hard boss fights.
Secret bosses.
Yeah, and
which is a big thing that it draws from JRPGs. That comes from its JRPG roots.
Yeah, but it is an interesting thought. But yeah, it would be very difficult to do, especially with the size and the scale of each world. But yeah, I think overall, just because I kind of forgot to, Kingdom Hearts 3, I would give it a recommended, leaning optional. But I give it recommended just so you can see how far the series has come from a technical standpoint. But I wouldn't say it's essential.
I keep having the same answers as you, Jacob, but like agreed. Like I would recommend it, but it's not essential. Especially with like how lackluster the story is. But gameplay wise and stuff, it was fun. I would recommend it, just as you mentioned, just to see how much progress they've made. Because they definitely made some huge changes for the better. So
I think I agree. I think for me, the only thing that might change that is the DLC. My opinion would be firmly rooted in how I felt the DLC affected the game, because I feel like for the story, for those invested in the story, I would have to say essential. But for those who are more regular players and aren't completely insane, yeah, recommended and bordering on optional, because nothing I've heard about this game, even the story, is really all that pushing it to essential. The only thing, the reason I'd give it essential would be to those people who are already deeply invested into the like ins and outs of the craziness of the story. And even then, that is subject to change with the DLC. Maybe the DLC does fix a lot of things. We'll find out. But at the moment, yeah, recommended.
Well, I think that's all the Kingdom Hearts games. Any closing thoughts on that? Or we all brained out from all that?
I think my brain can't process anything. After all that, it's just like, I can't.
Fuck Zane, or fuck Yen said, fuck Disney.
Tara's a dumbass, fuck Donald Duck, that's it.
And of course, we can't forget Mickey with no shirt means Mickey has nipples.
To close out, I want to wrap up the craziness of Kingdom Hearts and the commitment that they have to some parts of their story for some reason. I want to wrap up the insanity that are these writers. I want to tell you guys.
I'm gonna cut it right there.
I'm gonna tell you guys a little detail.
And another thing.
So in Kingdom Hearts, Mickey doesn't have a shirt on in one of the scenes. In one of the scenes in Kingdom Hearts, he doesn't have a shirt on. And in a much, much later game, when they give wider context to that scene, and the scenes leading up to that scene from the first game, Mickey's wearing a full outfit. And the writers specifically, and the people who made this game, specifically put in a scene so that Mickey loses that, so that he's shirtless for that scene, to maintain the continuity of Mickey Mouse not wearing a shirt in that scene. And it's really stupid, and it shows where the writers' priorities lie.
Covering nipples.
They would much rather keep the continuity of Mickey Mouse's bare chest than they would give any semblance of a proper explanation to their plot. Mickey Mouse's tits are more important than Venice.
That is what I'm gonna cut it on. Full stop right there. Oh, perfect.
Kingdom Hearts. Mickey Mouse's tits are more important than Venice.
You know, I think in Birth by Sleep, when you're playing as Terra, there's this particular path you can walk down in, I think it's Radiant Garden, and you can actually step on a piece of gum that's already been chewed like massively, and that is more important than Vince.